Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Pinnacle Cup #2. It's Monday, the start of a brand new week, and we've got some epic Counter-Strike action to bring you out today. My name is Victoria, of course, with the beautiful Wild Daily by my side for yet another time. We'll be bringing you the first two best-of-3s of action today, starting things off with Sinners versus Fiend. And how do you feel about this one, Wild Daily?
This is a matchup that I've really wanted to look at because Sinners, they have been on an absolute roll. I mean, they recently won ESEA Premier Season 37, and, you know, their victory was quite a landslide. And we haven't really seen Fiend go up against Sinners too many times. I believe they've gone up against each other once, and that was way before. So to be in that kind of scenario, to not have seen this matchup at all, especially when these teams are going neck and neck with regards to the HLTV rankings, I mean 26 versus 23. So that's one of those hidden matchups that we truly haven't gotten to witness. Even though the teams around this caliber, like the top 15 to 30 teams, you're probably going to have like a big sample size to judge off of. You're going to have many matches, historically speaking. It's simply not the case when it comes to Fiend and Sinners. And both teams, they are they're the pioneers of their own playgrounds, or so to speak, because Fiend, time and time again, they've shown so much promise. Yes, they've had a little bit of a drop-off recently, especially with a couple of losses that we've seen, but other than that, mostly they've been on an upward trend. So to go against a team like Sinners, which I believe have something of a 2 maps being lost in the past 15 maps they've played, I want to see where all that form is coming from.
Of course, and absolutely here we've got our teams in the Swiss stage. Every single team has pretty much played their first matches. I believe there's only just a few that have been able to play their second match, and that is however Young Ninjas and Double Pony. That does place them in that 1-1 scoreline at the center of the scoreboard. But now we've got the teams at the top of the line, right? The teams that have been able to get themselves already that first win, and including those are the matches we have at hand. Sinners versus Fiend is the first matchup, and that we've already sort of touched upon. And later on, we've got Ents versus Lingby Vikings, which will also be an interesting endeavor. Now, I did hear your thoughts overall in the grand scheme of things over Sinners and Fiend, but maybe let's dive into slight specifics when it comes to the rosters, right? Because Sinners, we know they've been together for quite some time. We know that they've had some clear goals coming in when Oscar joined the squad late 2020. And I believe I had an interview coming through from B-Stick a few months ago. It was at the start of 2021, and I remember that their goal was clearly to get into that top 30 mark, and they have since then achieved that by far, actually. Now number 26 in the world, and now I think I start to wonder, what are the prospects of this team, and can they actually reach greater heights than they've actually gotten to so far? That's sort of the question in my mind when it comes to Sinners.
Yeah, when you're looking at the progression of a team like this, it's been relatively linear for Sinners. They've just been on this upward trend, and they've been accomplishing all of the smaller goals that they've had. So even when you did have the little interview there, I remember that they had very realistic goals with regards to making sure that they take things one step at a time. Even if you've got a long-term goal, you're going to have these short-term cornerstones that you're going to rely on. So with regards to that, if we look at it, they've been able to beat out these top 20 teams, and the fact that they've been winning at tournaments recently, and the fact that they've been able to beat even a couple top 10 teams such as Big, I think these are all the hallmarks of a team that is set up for long-term promise, because you don't generally see teams from the top 10 getting quashed by teams in the top 30, and this is a relatively recent comer to the top 30. I believe it's only been about 2 months for their core to be in there. So in that way, I guess they're already showing evidence that they're capable of taking things to greater heights, that they just haven't had the time to show us yet.
Well, let's jump into the Fiend roster as well to see how things have sort of unfolded. We've talked about in the past, right? The fact that they've got this roster right now, the fact that Han has already been implemented in this roster for a little bit longer, it's really, really interesting to see how much of an impact this man has gotten with that AWP when it comes to it on the server. A really, really strong team, and honestly, what you can say about it is that they've completely made the Bulgarian scene proud. They've overpassed Skade when it comes to the world rankings. Although Skade now, I guess that recently, about a week ago, they beat them in a best-of-3 series in that Bulgarian derby. But apart from that, you know, Fiend is in the uprise, and I'm sure they'll keep on going. But I think we've got a veto at mind here. I think it's the veto that we sort of want to take a look at before we get into the game, because I think it will really be a massive difference maker when it comes to this series.
Yeah, no, Sinners, they've ended up banning Dust 2, Vertigo being banned by Fiend, both maps that they're not too comfortable with. And I'm a little bit surprised by the pick coming out, Inferno being picked up by... I'm not sure if there's a bit of a problem with the graphic. Oh, never mind. Okay, I just read that wrong. Yes, Sinners, they're the ones that have picked up Inferno, and I'm a bit surprised by that. It took me by surprise because, generally speaking, I think Fiend are the more seasoned roster. And when it comes to Inferno, they have a bit better for win rate. But the one thing that I do want to point out is that recently, Sinners have had a fair bit of experience going up against decent teams on that. So I think in that regard, they've built up a fair bit of confidence when it comes to it. Now, Fiend, they've picked up Mirage. And come on, if there's a team that's going to pick Mirage, it's got to be Fiend, right? Because
absolutely,
there's never been a better map for them. Time and time again, we've seen that they will be ready to crush teams on Mirage. The last time they went up against Young Ninjas, after they lost map, which is a game that we casted, by the way. After getting thwarted 16-4 on map number 1, they ended up coming back on map number 2, and Mirage is so consistent and so seasoned for them that they were still able to get a 16-2. I mean, from that kind of mental downturn, they're still able to do it. But what I'm really happy to see, of course, is Ancient.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it will be the decider. It will come to fruition, right? We will be expecting it at the grand scheme of things, and that's sort of what is exciting about this prospect. I think a 2-0 potential exists mostly on the side of Fiend, really. If Inferno is still a pretty decent map for them, and Mirage, of course, we talked about it. It's a pick that if there's any team that will manage to get a win against Sinners on Mirage, it is going to be Fiend, right? So I think on the side of the 2-0 prospect, Fiend has got the better end of the stick. But when it comes to a full-on 3-map series, if it does turn up going to the decider, I think it's anyone's game, because Sinners and Fiend have both been teams that have not feared picking up Ancient ever since it's been implemented in the map pool, right? They've been the teams that really don't mind picking it up, and when they do, they actually succeed in getting victories. I believe in the past month that they have been playing it, Ancient. Sinners, they played it 4 times and won it 3 times. Fiend, they played it 6 times and won it 5 times. So you can definitely see that both these teams fancy this map quite a bit, and I'm really interested to see how they match head-to-head when it comes to that regard. But as we turn the close into the veto, I'd really like to have your opinion on this situation, Malderi, because we do know that, at least in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to global standings, these 2 teams, there's not much separating the 2, right? But how close do you think this endeavor will be? How close do you think this matchup will sort of turn out to become? And what is the possibility of us seeing a 3rd map in this series?
I think a 3rd map is basically almost guaranteed. But if it's going to be a 2-0, it would be the way of Fiend. The reason I say that, of course, with my 100% wrong predictions, is because, generally speaking, Fiend is the type of team that will not lose Mirage. It's very unlikely to see it. If Sinners can somehow do it, that more power to them. But it's not something we see often. So it's incredibly important that Sinners take map number 1, because if they don't, it's too much leeway to allow a team like Fiend that is incredibly comfortable on Mirage to take it home. But if it does get to Ancient, that's when it really comes down to the individuals. And honestly, even across the board, even across all 3 maps, individual prowess will be one of the major highlights of this game. And the reason I say that is because both of these teams are often hinging on some of the highlight performances. So one pattern that we've seen for Fiend often is that Dreamer and Harn, they're going to be the ones shining. Dreamer will be getting the clutches, Harn often with the AWP picks now that he's fully assimilated into the roster. And Sinners, of course, they need that AWP prowess from Oscar to shine. If it doesn't, then it could be a very quick affair going in the way of Fiend. So overall, this is one of those matches that I do think is going to get messy. You know, very neck and neck statistics, very neck and neck team play, and the only thing that might separate them is their individual prowess. But the one thing I am worried about is that more often than not, we know that Fiend can be a bit more consistent when it comes to individuals. There's a good reason why Dreamer's HLTV rating, even as a rifler, is at 1.2. It's not very easy to achieve, but he still managed to do that. So Harn and Dreamer consistently putting up those ratings, that's something that Sinners are going to watch out for. But why don't we just head straight into the game, and you can watch it for yourself. Ex-Warrior.
Now heading right into the map, ladies and gentlemen. Fiend versus Sinners, starting things off on Inferno in this grand scheme of things. Pinnacle Cup shows that the odds do favour Fiend in a slight way, but still expecting it to be a very close endeavour. Heading things up, it is Sinners on that terrorist side, while Fiend have to take over the defensive of the counter-terrorist side. Spreading out across the map, Sinners, they want to make sure they've got a good read in before they take on the full-on approach.
Fiend, they've got 3 players ready and waiting on the A bomb site, and that's probably a good idea, considering that Sinners, they're only using 2 players to make sure that the rotations won't be coming out from B. They have a player on mid, potentially to catch out the lurks if that does come through, but there aren't really any opportunities for lurks. The mid push, however, has been kept in check. Now, Sinners, they want to attribute all of their resources to that A bomb site now, moving in closer. 3 from apartments, 2 from brackets, and Fiend do have a very good approach from this. Because the T side only has 1 smoke, it should be easy to get onto the bomb site.
Dream is expecting the push. Struggles to line up the shots. Beastic Shock won't have the same difficulty. Red Star trying to jiggle pick his way to a successful kill, but that doesn't really come to fruition. Sinners, they've closed out the round very quickly by getting them this A site, and Bubble will make sure that there's some extra damage being inflicted on their behalf. Still, a very difficult endeavor considering it is a 2 versus 4 scenario in favor of the Czech Republic side, but Victor as well will hold his line to get some early exit frags in the process. Sinners, I think they're really happy with this push. It worked the way they wanted to. Without losing too many players either, they'll allow this bomb to get planted. Well, to start to get exploded, really, in a matter of seconds.
I actually thought that Sinners wouldn't be very easily able to get onto the bomb site because being on 1 smoke, having 3 Fiend players at the ready, they could easily rotate in from long, or even if they didn't, they would have to leave at least 1 choke point open. They couldn't easily get into brackets, but at the end of the day, Sinners can simply win out on those aim duels. Even with the player that was nestled into cubby over around long, it didn't matter too much because Sinners, they did it the old-fashioned way. Their Glock somehow came to fruition, and Fiend, they ended up falling. Now, Fiend, they've picked up a few weapons again. Harn, he's got a scout rifle, a couple deagles on the board as well. Add Dreamer to the tally as well. Victor, he's got the UMP. Harn, moving away before he really gets a chance to fire off a shot. Perhaps he would have had the opportunity, but now Sinners should be moving into A.
Smoke drone out on the balcony side here, where Dreamer's holding it through. Victor as well. They've got a crossfire set up. I think Fiend, they've got a good read here. 4 players lined up onto this A site, and could really be able to deal with this without the onslaught coming through from Sinners. They're taking their time, though. And I think it's a good thing they do that, because Bubble in the process will get himself the rotation towards the B site. As the coast starts to clear, I'm sure that Sinners will slowly realize that they're taking their time with this push. Nothing too explosive. It's very methodical. But no contact being shown over to Banana either. You'll shortly be seeing Bubble peeking through, realizing that there's no one in that angle. Will mean that they'll be comfortable and the rotations kept out in the dark. Harn does get caught off guard and will get shut down. Bubble, again, headshot connecting to
no.
Bubble with 2. How is that even possible? They wanted to go for the rotation, but Bubble bamboozled them, coming in from behind, and that's potential to shut down Beastic as well, as he's very, very low. AK a hand. No, Beastic gets the better angle on him, and that's going to be a clear leeway onto the B site. Dreamer does get shut down by Beastic, meaning that they will change their mind and head towards the A site, meaning that Red Star is all by himself on the wrong side of the map trying to fend this off.
Oh man, Bubble actually put up such a good performance there, single-handedly clearing out Banana with a Desert Eagle, and he even got an AK-47 to show for it. So had he actually stuck to his guns and not doubted the initial decision to chuck the nade, I think he would have even gotten a 3rd without putting too much effort into it. But of course, hindsight does come standard when you have X-Ray on, and that's not something the pro players have access to. Sinners now with a 2-round lead, and that's exactly how they wanted to start off Inferno. So one of the win conditions that I did end up setting in the pregame is the fact that Sinners need to pull out ahead on Inferno, because the idea or the hopes that Fiend would somehow lose out on Mirage, they're not very sustainable. It doesn't happen too often, and I don't think this is going to be a different affair either. Sinners mostly should be getting away with a cleanup round. Fiend, they've only got pistols to work with, although they still have put Zedko in the grave with a quick slap to the back of the head. Oscar now just wants to pad those HLTV stats before he heads on into the next round.
Yeah, these type of skills are pretty much the only type of skills that I will ever get on a server, you know, when I'm up against pistols. When I've got the better weapon, that usually tends to happen. And that is where I tell my team, you guys, you can stand back. I'm not capable enough to get kills in the normal round, so just let me do my thing when it comes to these. So at least I have a decent scoreline at the end of the game. I'm not bottom fragging, at least I'm like 4th or something.
Yeah.
I keep telling you, Wild Eddie. I keep telling you, you need to help me in solo queue, because I feel I'm never going to get out of Gold Nova. Never.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I did invite you to a game earlier, and you were like, no, I want to go and play the Nerf gun version of Counter-Strike, and I was like, okay.
Fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, you might see that screen below, Trustly. Well, they're the place to go when it comes to online payments and transactions, because you can quickly flow from account, you can quickly make your payments from account to account without any cards, without any difficulties, and so you can even use it when it comes to pinnacle.com/odds, where you can bet on your teams. It's a really simple way to really transfer your money from place to place, and a very safe one as well. So make sure you go check our partners out over at Trustly. But starting things off, this is the buy round we were waiting for us. And I think Sinners have got a slow approach to this, dedicating a lot of power towards the banana side.
Yeah, they've mollied out the fallen position, so now they know that no aggression can be shown out from Red Star or Harn. But now I believe they want to retake this bubble. Goes for a quick Molotov, but that still hasn't cleared out the terrors, because I believe it landed a bit too narrow. Now, double peeking out, a flashbang is at the ready. Red Star able to catch off Zedko. Bubble goes for a second, but Neofrag ends up coming out on top. It's a 4 versus 3 Sinners. They've somehow recollected the ball here in this instance, although Banana was about to be given up. Harn, being the sole defender of the B bomb site, he's either banking on them, going for a dry peek, as they will, or switching bomb sites. Now, they know what to do. There's no way they're going to be entering the B bomb site with ease, so instead, they'll have their eyes dead set on the A site. Sinners, how do they deal with this 2-man approach as far as Pit is concerned? No Molotov declared out either. Dreamer, he's given up his position, and a nade will follow through. They've got to tag team this up.
Oh, once injury thrown out, but they've already trickled through. Victor has been spotted, and Shock will be able to connect the headshot onto him. Dreamer looking to peek through, finding better of his opponent, and now Beastic and Neofrag are really low. Basically one shot away when it comes to Dreamer's bullets. Hasn't quite been successful in finding one. Pistol drawn out from Han, knows that everybody's low. Beastic does deliver onto Dreamer, which does make the endeavor a lot more difficult for Han. Neofrag is holding down the angle, but it's a different choice he makes. Finds a shot, and now he needs to deal with one more player. Time is dwindling, and time is of essence. Smokes out, will touch the bomb. Or does he? Ooh, he will start the defuse, but does he stick it? Neofrag, he just does noise when it comes to footsteps, and now will peek through again. But he's going to stick it. He's been spotted. Beautifully played by Neofrag, and doesn't allow Sinners to drop a single round.
I love how he played that. Recognition of the fake defuse. He didn't even have confirmed information on whether or not it's a fake, because he went for a quick shoulder peek around the corner. It's not like he was able to actually see the bomb. But still, he knows what to do when he's got low HP. No way that he's going to give up the bomb, and that's how it ended up working out for him. Fiend, off to a terrible start as far as Inferno is concerned, although it did get quite close. Did get down to the wire, but somehow with only 5 points of health, they have clutched it out. Beastic, his nade will be making sure that no shenanigans on Banana will be ensuing. Bubble playing up close and personal. The Desert Eagle will not connect, narrowly missing it by a hair's margin.
Quite a lot of blood splatter going on into the banana side. You might as well call it the red banana side. Flash coming through. Ooh, Neofrag. being challenged. They're not finding too great of a difficulty getting themselves some ground control, although they've only pressured onto one side of the map. Therefore, Fiend are comfortable holding it back so far. Guess not so comfortable when it comes to the lineup defense because they've lost 2 players already. But, you know, Sinners, this should be a good start for them, right? Even if they lose a couple of players here, it still does sort of approach that 5-0 mark for the Czech side. And considering that, I guess the Pinnacle odds initially did sort of predict that Fiend have a better chance of taking this series home. If Sinners start off with a strong point like this on their own map pick, it's a massive confidence boost coming through, but they only need to deal with 1 player coming into the A site now.
Should be a relatively easy cleanup here. The Desert Eagle doesn't even get a chance to be fired off. And it's interesting that you mentioned the idea that it would allow for momentum. The last time Young Ninjas were able to go 16-4 against Fiend, they came right back in a 16-2 fashion. So I'm not sure if Fiend are particularly worried about the enemy team building up momentum. Maybe it fares differently for a team like Sinners, and Young Ninjas are different, but I wouldn't count on it. It's not something that I would sustainably believe in. Sinners, they're doing wonderful work at the moment, but how long is this going to last? Because Fiend, they're pulling out the big guns as well. Harn on an AWP, 4 M4s on the rest of the players, and locked and loaded utility as well. The bomb could easily be spotted out on mid, but nobody's going for that peek. It's just Harn and Dreamer waiting on the A-bomb site. Harn, as soon as they come around the corner, it should be an easy picking for him, unless they go for a flashbang. Arch is smoked out. Now he needs to do it the old-fashioned way. He's going to hit the first shot and back off to safety. He's also got Dreamer to secure him.
He absolutely does. The crossfire has now been set up, and Harn wants another piece of that pie. He tasted it once, and he said it was juicy, it was spicy, it was a combination of flavors that he wants to experience once more. And so I guess it's one of the first times that Fiend find themselves an initial kill going their way, putting a dent in their opponent's attack, and now this limits Sinners quite a bit. I guess the only time sort of it's been a close endeavor was that second round, right, when the force spike came through. But other than that, it's just it's a matter of capitalizing on this numbers advantage. They definitely have the weapons to do just that. Numbers, health, Harn again with a similar lineup. He's not going to miss that shot any time of the day. Takes that a 3rd kill for him this round. Not going to be the 4th as Oscar pulls out the AWP and says, no, you. And it's still a 2 versus 4 endeavor for the Sinners side to sort of try and scrap themselves out of. It really is going to be a difficult scenario for them, especially considering they're outnumbered when it comes to this A site. And pushed up, they'll soon have Red Star coming in for the backstab shot. Gets one, Victor. Easy pickings for him, and he does collect the second one as well. Fiend, they find their way on the board.
Incredibly well played by Fiend, but Harn, I know that he didn't perform too well when he had his AWP for the first time, but when he gets a second shot, he's not going to miss. 3 kills for him. Incredibly important to bring Fiend back into this series. Sinners, they have encountered a bit of a road bump now, but they still have plenty of money to go. They've got 4 AK-47s and an AWP. Oscar once again on his signature weapon. Early flashbangs on Banana to take control. A Molotov as a response from the CTs will be keeping them at bay. I think Oscar may have spotted one crossing over from sandbags, but there will still be a fair bit of attention on Banana. Do they try to take this? They've got flashbangs. They've taken up one, and Shock and Zedko, they'll be responding. It's once again a 2-for-1 trade. Victor, he wants to stay alive. He wants to do damage, but he only gets away with 1 extra headshot. 2v3 on the retake, but this is very doable considering Shock's HP.
Still, yeah, it is doable. I think that's the word to describe it. But I think Fiend, they've backed off of it. The fact that they've only got 2 players, and sort of when it comes to the Inferno site, to retake at a numbers disadvantage, it's always a difficult endeavor. There's so many corners that Sinners could be hiding out on, and without any information, without much utility. Well, I say not without much utility, but Dreamer's got a full-on stack, so yeah. It's still difficult, right? Even though Shock is 3 points of health, he's still able to shoot his weapon. He's still able to surprise their opponents when it comes to those angles. And Fiend will respect that, and I like that from them. Although, you know, Inferno is one of those maps that you will see these saves more frequent than any other map in this map pool. But, you know, Sinners, they bounce back as soon as they find a loss.
It was very important for Fiend to save those weapons because largely their success hinges off of Harn being able to get a pick or Dreamer being able to get clutches. And that's not me taking away any credit from the other players. Of course, they still make up the lineup and they're still incredible performers. But when you do have an op in the hands of Harn, it can significantly change the outcome of the round or even the game. Now you can see why Fiend are going for a timeout. They're feeling a bit pressured here on Inferno. Not something that is very characteristic of them as far as scorelines are concerned. But in the meantime, if you do want to go check out our partners, you can go over to pinnacle.com/Oz where you can find the latest in-play offerings for Fiend versus Sinners. And they are running a promotion right now. If you bet €10, you can get €10 back as a return. Terms and conditions apply, and only bet what you can afford to lose.
Yeah, be responsible when it comes to betting. Of course, if the fun stops, stop. That's sort of the idea that you need to sort of approach when it comes to betting. But yes, Sinners, they've managed to sneak themselves ahead, and I think the timeout will give Fiend some breathing space to sort of reflect on what has been going on. And something they've changed in their approach is that early three-man dedication towards Banana. And look at Red Star's positioning now, moving on the backside. Oscar able to deliver, though, not really going to give Red Star any chance, but they are going to start trickling onto the site now. And Victor has to deliver. He finds one. Dreamer is there as a backup, and he's successful in finding most of the kills here. Nade is dropped right by him, throws a preemptive smoke in case of a molly. And that's a good idea because Oscar has a molly himself, but he's the only fighter remaining in the team, and Dreamer has to fall in his hands. Looks at Bubble. No scope connects, but not going to be the finishing blow as Bubble is able to find his opponent's head, and Fiend find themselves back on the board once more.
Bubble was actually saved by the box there. He took 81 points of damage, or maybe 91, I don't know, but at the end of the day, it's just good enough to keep him alive on the server and keep it away from that 1v1 scenario. The one thing I do have to mention, though, is that Fiend lost quite a few players in that previous round, so their economy still will be taking a hit for it. But, at the same time, Sinners, they're going through a very similar scenario as well. They've only got Deagles, they've got an SG for Neofrag, because he was the player that had a bit more money on the board. And perhaps they're trying to go for a bit of a 1-2 punch. Just have one rifle, everybody else on Deagles. It can still be a tricky affair to deal with if you're playing from the side of the CTs. Red Start. Maybe he gets an opportunity to take out Neofrag here. Doesn't connect the shot, surprisingly, even though the crosser did look like it was on him. And now Fiend, they're already feeling the pressure. You can see how Sinner's idea of having the SG and the Deagle has somehow worked out. Oh no, you've gotten greedy for the AWP and you've gotten punished. But it's still a 1-for-1 trade, and that means that Sinners, they come out with the advantage.
They do indeed. 3 against 3. In this situation, I think the curse for the B site take is clear. And Fiend, they've gone for a gamble play, knowing that Red Star is low, and they want to make sure they've got most of their power collected onto that A sites. And if it does come to the A site, they'll be able to deliver no problem. But those smokes are really going to block out Red Star's approach. But now they soon will realize. I imagine he may want to take some shots through the dark as he hears the commotion run past them. But no, I think he's sort of expecting a boost to come out first. But Bubble, look at that. The rotations have already come through mid. They're already trying to challenge them quite substantially. Fiend, they might have a chance in this situation. They made the call. The bomb goes down, but Red Star delivers with the operator, with the AWP as they do for. Beastic puts the bullet straight through his opponent's head. Deagle a hand. That is insane. But Red Star is even more inhuman than his opponent. Puts the bullet straight through his skull, and he salvages the round for Fiend.
That was way too close for comfort. Red Star, he was down to 5. Those 2 Deagle kills could have changed the game. But now it does seem like Fiend are back on the horse. And it is to be expected that once they're given a bit of leeway, they start to come back, because Inferno is a map that is tried and tested for either team. Unfortunately for Sinners, I don't think they're going to have to... they're going to have the same level of comfort as Young Ninjas did when dismantling them on map number 1. I know I do bring that up a fair bit, but that's because I don't think Fiend have had a 16-2 type of loss in a very long time. Now, Sinners are slowly taking control of mid. A Molotov to clear out short. But Fiend, their setup is largely around the apartments area. They have 4 players here on the A site, so it's almost as if the gates are locked. They shouldn't be allowed to get into A, and with this AWP coming around the corner, it should be a freebie. Goes for a second. Harn, he's already destroyed the push before it can really come to fruition, but Bisa, he's got the drop on them. Might be able to pick up 2, but he's only good for 1. A Neil frag. Now in a 1 versus 4 with the bomb not in his control and the CT's charging towards T-spawn where the bomb may be found, there's no way he can pincer himself out of this situation. Neil frag, running out with your knife.
What?
Very uncomfortable
buddy hopping away. I think he found a headshot there, but I don't know how it didn't quite kill Neofrag off, as it was the AK-47, unless he drove out the pistol, which does make me feel very weird inside, but somehow Neofrag is still alive in this situation. He's got 30 seconds to work with, but not much health. He's being pincered in, and Victor finds a prime time to close him out. 4-6 as Fiend start to close the gap.
Now Fiend are looking a little bit more dominant, especially with Harn coming alive around the mid area. These initial picks, they make a massive difference. Sinners, they're going for a timeout because they find themselves in between a rock and a hard place. From 5-0, they are suddenly starting to give things up. It's beginning to feel like the pressure is on them instead, and it is expected, of course, because Fiend are on the CT side. They're going to have a slightly better time with regards to whether or not rounds go their way, but Sinners, with their economy being the way it is, it does turn into a bit of a tricky affair. I kind of like the details in the background of the Fiend players, you know, the little moon and Saturn.
Kind of feels like a nursery.
Yeah, I mean,
kindergarten.
Yeah, he's playing in kindergarten because he's schooling these kids, I suppose. That's like the idea behind it.
Ooh, smoky. Ooh. I mean, I guess this gives us a little bit of a space to talk about the fact that there is a offer over at Pinnacle that everyone can take advantage over. 10 euros bet on esports can get you 10 euros back, but you need to use Cup21 as a code on sign up for you to take advantage of that. But make sure you go ahead and do just that, because it's an advantage you definitely want to take advantage. It's a situation you want to take advantage of. Just like Fiend can take advantage of Sinners' weak buy, because this could be where Fiend can get themselves a 5th.
Yeah, now, it is mostly just pistols, of course, for the center side, so it won't be particularly the best case scenario, and this should be an easy-peasy mow-down. The lawnmowers have been pulled out, the grass is being mown, nice and easy. The grass is not greener for the T side.
No, it's not. But it is for the CT side. That was a simple little pick. And when it comes to green, I guess Trustly is also the place to go when it comes to transactions. And you can also use it over at pinnacle.com/odds. And that's how you can sort of, well, hit a bird and hit 2 birds with 1 stone. But yeah, there you have it. Red Star and Bubble, that was a simple spray down for them. And, you know, I'm not really surprised by how close this game has been, but I really like the power that Fiend have been able to bring out. It's sort of a rejuvenating power that we're witnessing right now, and it seems like they're really comfortable to close this gap entirely.
But this is a much faster pace of gameplay than we've seen from Sinners before. Harn, once again playing from Boiler where he's comfortable, comes on mid, but Oscar is anticipating it. A second one as well, but Victor comes out on top. In hot pursuit, the M4 does not prevail. A 3v3 on the A bomb site, and the rotations have already come in hot. Dreamer, he wants to navigate around apartments instead. The angle could have been smoked out, but it's a bot smoke, and the bomb is dropped right in front of Victor. This is going to make things significantly harder for Sinners, especially with Victor completely dismantling them. There's only 1 player remaining, and 4 kills have already gone under the belt of Victor. This should be an easy cleanup, and that's an ace for Victor.
It is indeed. Victor will be very happy about that one. I did like the potential early on from Sinners, right? It was a change of pace, as you very well pointed out. They aggressively pushed up towards the long side of the A approach and went straight past the arch area. Yes, there was a push to come through from from Victor there. Well, it was two players that actually pushed towards Arch and managed to catch them off guard, but Neofrag was, of course, there to deliver. But I think the main point of contention was the fact that Fiend were not scared of moving out of the apartment site as quickly as possible, and which did cause a lot of pressures on Sinner's attack, and now they're forced down to the pistol buy. Only an A to find themselves a kill this round as Bubble is able to take their lives at 3, and Resta will be chiming in for another as Oscar has to fall to the flames.
I really like how, for Fiend, part of the staple of defending the A-bomb site is not actually playing around the site itself. When they play from apartments, especially when they're so comfortable with letting Harn play a close angle with an AWP, you know, just always come out, peek down mid, it's not very orthodox the way they approach it, but it seems to be working out for them. We've even seen a couple of rounds where they have 4 players positioned in apartments, and it's so hard for the center side to clear out because you can't clear it the old-fashioned way. Oh, hold that thought, because they seem to be pushing down mid, and Oscar, he's ready for it, but he's pulled out his knife. He's not anticipating it. Red Star should be able to get 2, but he's only good for 1. Once again, Sinners, they start off the entry frags with an advantage, and now, Fiend, they've got to make an adjustment. Does Dreamer peek out to potentially get it back in their favor? I don't think they're getting that option yet.
Oh, no, but I like how Sinners haven't really amped up their progress so far, right? They know they've got the advantage, and they know they've got the space to work around with Dreamer. You were talking about advantage, but no, all of a sudden that is out of the window. And now Sinners, they find themselves with equal numbers with their opponents. Now, if they get themselves together, if they collaborate towards any of these sites, they should have the numbers advantage wherever they go, but the best idea is they're able to sneak out the information of which site is only inhabited by one singular player. And so far, they don't have any of that info. They're sending a lot of utility towards the B side, but I'm not quite sure if they want to commit to it so far, because you can see Shock as well, moving towards the apartment side on that right side of the map. They are doing a lot of noise when it comes to utility, but I think Fiend have realized this is sort of a fake coming out. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing a rotation from the CTs coming shortly, but they're actually lingering a little bit longer when it comes to the B site. B-Stick is going to throw down a flash. They're going to keep on pushing through. They've only got to deal with one player. This is Shock going to check this position. Victor's going to make his presence known, and Shock will be able to find his shots onto him. That's the take that Sin is needed. 14 seconds remaining on the clock, but plenty of time to get the bomb planted.
B-Stick now, he seems to be committing to this. They're watching the push through the smoke. All they had to do was interrupt that bomb plan, and that's what Bubble wanted to do. Dreamer. 1v3, he is renowned for lots of those clutches that his team is so familiar with, but not this time, because Sinners, they're not allowing any setting from the enemy side. 7-7, as close as a game can get.
Absolutely. And considering it's Inferno, I mean, we knew it'd be a close map. I think we know that this is likely to be the closest map of the series, right? Maybe Ancient may have a similar, will have a similar picture formed, but when it comes to both sides of the spectrum, I think both teams are very capable of getting a victory here, and Sinner's feeling very comfortable on this map lately. Will try and deliver once more. Basic, the aggressionness from the in-game leader is unprecedented, and he's able to perform in a really nice fashion, giving themselves a B-site take.
Oh, Shock wants to be even more aggressive and push around the smoke. Dreamer, not expecting it at all, will allow Harn to be exposed as well. Now, 1 versus 3, last round. Harn's got to go for it. He doesn't have an option. Quickly comes around the smoke, tries to go for a no-scope, but it does not work out. Sinners, they come out on top, 8-7 and half number 1.
Oh, I really like that push. I think B-Stick had the better spawn, therefore he was the one to lead the charge in that situation. But I really like that call. Just instantly aggress on your opponents and catch them off guard. Like, it was a clean 2K for him as well. The flash was on point from Shock, and the Molly lured Reds that outside as well. So a good coordination on the nades, a simple take that really worked out. Very nicely done.
And they get to play the better side this time around, so I want to see how much better they can perform. It is their own map pick, and I would expect the CT side to be a bit more well-seasoned coming out from them. You have to keep in mind that Sinners had a pretty significant lead when the game started, so to only get away with 8-7, I'm not sure if I'm too comfortable with that, but Neofrag, he'll be the first man to deal with Red Star, or not.
Yeah. Or not. I guess it's the opposite side of that stick that came ahead. Ooh, okay. Beastic had a chance to pull the trigger there, but doesn't quite decide to do so. But Fiend will decide to aggress nonetheless. Shock pulls some bullets through his opponent's backs, but won't be enough to find the finishing blows. Beastic holds his line, does damage onto Dreamer as well, but it is a 3v4 endeavor favoring the attacking side of Fiend. Getting themselves on site, looking to get the bomb planted as well. But Oscar does grab out a kill on the process. Few players of the Fiend side are very, very low, and there is some utility to be brought out. Just the decoy, actually, from Shock. I thought that was a flash for a second, but no, this is going to be really difficult for them to actually get this push through. They need to connect these headshots. Dreamer finds one hand with the other, and Shock is able to return in favor. 1 versus 2. He knows where both of the players are, but can he find it through the crossfire? It looks to aggress to isolate the kill onto Victor, but he needs to find both of them in the time. He needs to get the bomb diffuser onwards. He finds the kit. Is that going to be good enough? Is he going to stick it? No, he touches it once. Han has to peek through. He realizes it's a fake, and that will give the round to Fiend. Not only that, it will be the equalizer for them.
Fiend play that to near perfection. When they had that 1 versus 2 going on, they made sure that their nerves would be ice cold. No extra peeks, nothing. Making sure that the player has to get onto the bomb site on his own and end up giving very unfavorable duels. Great recognition of the fake as well. Fiend. Now they're the ones that'll come out ahead unless Sinners can come up with something huge with the Desert Eagles. I mean, it wouldn't be too surprising because the force buys can often be incredibly deadly.
For us, is it just me? Am I seeing more UMPs at play lately?
Yeah, it is true because MP9s have been reigning supreme, or even MAC-10s, but for some reason, even the Ts are preferring UMPs now, but hold that thought because Sinners, they're about to deal with the Ts on their own, and don't think that's going to be too successful of an affair, although it has come down to a 2-for-2 trade. Oscar actually getting away with a very favorable rifle here because he has his hands on an AK-47. Can he deliver?
Ooh, Oscar can't. Victor manages to put a couple of bullets through his head, and Beastic and Neofrag now are forced to back out of it. Fiend managed to turn their previous round into momentum to carry this one out, but it looks like Sinners aren't ready to give up on this endeavor just yet. From us, UMP against a couple of rifles on a UMP themselves. Oh, AK picked up, actually. Beastic. Oh, okay, I'll take this. Thank you very much. Goodbye. I'm out. But yeah, no, Fiend, they do a really good job taking this round. But I kind of want to turn our attention back onto the UMPs, right? Because I really like that weapon. I've been a fan of it for quite some time. Not only because I like calling it the Oompa Loompa, but because, like, I think it's got a longer range effectiveness, which is sort of what Fiend wanted to go for there.
Yeah, the UMP sort of like gives me the idea that it's the baby version of the baby AK. It's like it's like a smaller Galil, basically.
Yeah, fair enough.
But we haven't really been seeing it too much in action, so maybe if it can resurface, that would be a nice change of pace. You know, having some fresh meta is always something pleasant to deal with. Now, Fiend, they've got their eyes set on mid. 4 players from the center side with Deagle will be flooding the apartments, and this is where the information has been given up. Can they come out on top? Because Beastic had that AK-47, winning duel should be no problem.
Oh, Neofrag needs to back out of that as Fiend look to aggress onto him. Instead, they move on towards Arch. They're going to completely dismantle the lineup of defense because they've halved it into Sinners. You thought they had the right read. Think again, because Shock, you've got a hell of a job to do. Sinners, they're quickly trying to make their way towards Banana, but Fiend have already found themselves on site. Shock, what do? Do you hide away, try and line up a shot? It's taking him some time to connect the headshot. Needs to fall back to the safety of the Cathedral, but he's got 2 players on close pursuit looking for the headshot. Han delivers a spray down. Red Star as well. They're not giving them access towards this site. Basic, he's the only man with an AK, and I think he's willing to back out of it and save it for the next round, because Fiend, they've taken themselves a B site and they've been able to hold it ever since.
Do Fiend actually start running away with this game? I would be very afraid for Sinners if that's the case, because Mirage being up next, that doesn't particularly favor them too much. I know that Fiend were down at halftime, but if there's any side that you want to start snowballing on, it's gotta be the terrorist side. a lot easier to build up money, a lot easier to pressure the CT side economy. And the rounds can actually feel a lot easier than the average gun round because you often don't have to go up against the same caliber of equipment.
Yeah, and unlike the start of this map, I guess it's Sinners now. Well, the midway of the first half, where Sinners were favored. Fiend are back on track to sort of close out the series.
Yeah, they do have the weaponry, but will Oscar be able to replicate the successes of Harn around brackets? We're just gonna have to wait and find out as Fiend. They've got second mid control. They're still trying to contest Banana, but I don't think Neofrag will be knocked out of position anytime soon. The bomb starting to make its way to Freiburg's favorite spot. And 5 players will be joining them in this affair. Neofrag, he's got to be the first line of defense, and he'll be alone.
He will be. He's got the reinforcement from B-Stick, but they don't check that angle quickly. Neofrag delivers with 2 kills, looks to re-peek for a third. Headshot connected onto Hard, but it's only the M4, which is not a one-shot blow. And for that reason, Fiend, their attack has been burnt down to a mere 2 players. Sinners, they've managed to recollect their forces onto the B site, having 2 players strong on this lineup. B-Stick, oh, he hasn't spotted out Dreamer, has he? They don't know. And Oscar, is he expecting this? Yes, he is. AWP at hand, able to put a shot right through Dreamer's heart. And Red Star, as the final player remaining, will quickly be killed off by B-Stick.
I love how one Molotov could have entirely changed the outcome of the round there. Not only that, the coordination of Sinners is so on point that Neofrag, in the middle of a battle, he knows when the flashbang is coming. His teammate is fully consciously waiting for the flashbang to go through after Neofrag has already won the first or second duel. And that's because it's much harder for the T side to then try to dodge the flashbang. If you've already lost out on a player, you're going for the refrag, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to notice the flashbang, and that's how he was even able to get a dink on the third one. So overall, this is solid stuff being showed on the CT side by Sinners already, and I can't wait to see what more they've got. That's a very cool background on one of the Sinners players. I think a bunch of graffiti on the wall. I wish I had something like that instead of a green screen.
I guess, well, once your job, you can't really afford to have an ambience going on in the background, you know, having a different vibe. Red Star, he actually takes some damage out of that trade. Good shot being thrown out from Oscar's AWP. Now, how is this sort of round approach from Fiend? Because they've just lost one and they know they're on the brink of economical collapse. And considering that Sinners have progressed fairly far onto the log side here, B-Stick, not quite sure if he'll get spotted out here. But it doesn't give away an audio cue, which is the important part. Do Fiend check this? Oh, B-Stick. Oh no! It's taking some time to find the finishing blow, and it doesn't have quite the time to throw down the smoke to allow him to get back onto safety. Oscar puts that AWP to good use. Flash thrown out to delay the push even further, as perhaps he's waiting on a player to help him out. But instead, Sinners, they stick with 3 players on the A site, and the fact that Fiend are still challenging the B bomb site, it may be a wrong choice. Dreamer finds one, looking for the second one, and what did he turn around, changing the tide of this game? Dreamer looking to clutch things up, but Shock is able to stop him in his tracks. It's still 2v2 endeavor as Fiend head towards the B site.
Yeah, Oscar, he'll have to turn up huge. He's got one player coming into his crosshairs, and he will be putting a bullet through Red Star's eyes. Harn, 1v1 on the B-bomb site. Doesn't land the first shot. Oscar, he's going to have to deal with his bird coming his way, and he has enough time to go for the bomb plant as well. Watch this 1 versus 1 as Shock is coming in from Banana. Harn, now he's given up his position based on where he smoked out from, but there are still 3 angles to be cleared by Shock. Maybe he doesn't have info on Emo as well, Harn. He's playing the off angle. He should be able to find Shock in this instance. Who wins out the duel? Apparently, it's Shock.
Shock! He went for the wide swing and instantly connected that headshot. That was immaculate.
He anticipated that off angle, and that is so impressive. Knowing that Harn is not the type of player that would just play this, play a basic angle, try to win out a simple aim duel. No, that's not the case. Instead, he anticipates that Harn would be peeking out wide, and he does it as well.
We thought this game would be a game of Counter-Strike. Instead, it's a game of Mastermind.
We actually anticipated that it would come down to so many of these individual duels. Like, we had the 180 duel from Dreamer where he was able to pick up both, and it came down to Harn and Shock, both down to the last wire, both teams struggling economically because it's never going to be an easy affair getting through a round, and that's what I like to see.
Oh, it's good Counter-Strike, man. Of course you love it. You love to see it. I was so hyped up coming to today's matches, and this one, the first one of the day, the first one of the week, is not disappointing at all. It's a beauty to see, but Neofrag has already fallen, which gives Fiend some leeway onto this ace site. Sinners, though, look at the gamble play. All of them now dedicated onto the ace site, and Fiend are falling right into their trap. Oh,
yeah,
dear.
Up against 4. This is going to be a very tricky affair, but Zedko, he's gotten the first frag. 2 players in pit will make it very difficult to actually drop down. It's easy pickings. Dreamer and Red Star, they've fallen, and somehow it's a relatively clean round from the CT side.
I'm not really surprised, though, well, there after that was a good read from Sinners, and it comes the way they thought it would unfold. And the Pinnacle odds are back and forth at this point. Who can win this series? Who can tell? I don't think anyone can. Well, I think it's highly based on who wins this first map, right? Because I think what Pinnacle is thinking, that Ancient, it's anyone's game. And they do consider Fiend being a favorite onto that second map, which does put a lot of pressure on this first one, giving the momentum. What we're seeing from Sinners so far is insane. It's the reads, it's the calls, it's the individual performance, every single thing coming together for Sinners, and it's looking wonderful.
Oh, Zedko doesn't actually opt to peek out even wider or attempt to go into second mid. No, he just wants to go for that one peek that he was destined to. Neofrag, he knows that there's a player in logs, wants to push him back. Fiend, I don't think they get too much of an opportunity as far as getting control of brackets is concerned. And Shock, I believe if he didn't look away in that instance, he would have gotten away with a kill. But regardless, he's just Harn and Bubble remaining with a P250 and a Deagle respectively. And with the bomb being in the control of Sinners now, there is absolutely no way they get away with this. They would need a godsend. And there's a good reason why something like this would be called a throwaway round. Bubble wants to pre-fire that angle, does succeed in his endeavor, and that's a free AK-47 being picked up. And that's the B-side being open, but don't really have the bomb, do you? Unless you've brought a little backup in your back pocket. Instead of bringing a C4, you just bring a stack of HE grenades.
How is this sort of being brought across? Though I guess this gives Sinners some space to sort of breathe, right? Not only do they get themselves to 12th here, but they've got some time to sort of chill a bit. It kind of acts like a timeout, right, in a way. But the same could be said about Fiend, right? They're holding back. Maybe they can discuss something without spending one of their timeouts. Knowing this is a really close endeavor, it's still anyone's game. A 2-round lead isn't everything yet, but it's definitely one step towards that finishing mark.
The one thing, of course, that supplements this 2-round lead is the impact of it. When you build up these 2 rounds, you had a flawless round where they were able to get free pickings on pit, where they had the incredible stack, and of course a throwaway round. So now you've actually got a decent bit of bank built up. Oscar and Zedko, they're both sitting around that 6 to 7K mark, so that's something that Sinners can definitely be very happy about. Fiend, on the other hand, although their loss bonus is starting to build up, the money truly isn't. Bubble, nice little Ferrari peek to start things off. That Desert Eagle, somehow, working like a scout rifle instead.
That's an M4 now into the hands of his own. It's an upgrade.
He got it himself as well, not even waiting for somebody else to get the kill. No, he's like, you know what? Started from a Deagle, now we're here.
Well, they started from 5 men, and now Sinners are down to 4 with Oscar barely breathing. He's limping, poor man. And I guess he'll be quite compromised when it comes to this this approach. Beestick throwing down a smoke. Actually pushes through it. Beestick, so many of these times, will push aggressively onto the banana side. Flash perfect when Neofrag throws it, but Bubble able to capitalize on it, and it's a 1-for-1 trade at the end, meaning that they need that extra rotation towards the B site. Though Oscar, he's lingering. He's not quite sure what the right call is. They're acting within the dark. They've got no idea of how Fiend want to approach this, but the fact that they're not seeing any more utility towards this banana side, it means that the likelihood of it being an A-site take is only just increasing. Smoke's being thrown now. They know it might be too late. There's a smokes will really cross this site in two. Zetko throwing down an Incendiary to slow things down. Headshot connected. Can he find the follow-up? Yes, he can. Zetko, you're insane. Can he find the third? Victor peeking through. Neofrag delivers as he's recuperated on site. Dreamer finds yet another. Dreamer all by himself. He's the Clutchmeister, but he's been bamboozled. Oscar comes in from behind, and Sinners take over another round.
Time and time again, their CT side defense is looking impenetrable. The amount of reads they're able to get, the amount of rotations that they can get correctly, it's insane. And that is reflected on the scoreboard now.
Oscar and Dreamer high impact players, and Oscar is beating him out 5-2 in duels so far. Powered by Trustly, of course, that's that statistic. But that's really interesting considering that they're likely... Well, Oscar, I think, undoubtedly is the highest impact player in his team. And Dreamer, he's a Clutchmeister of Fiend.
Yeah, I would be a little bit more worried if Oscar was winning out all duels against Harn, though, because that's the AWP player on the other end of Bubble. Now they've got an entry. Maybe they can do something off of this B stick. He's the only member remaining on the B side, and not for long, because now, Sinners, they've only got 3 players. I don't think they even try to go for this, because before they can even get their feet marching towards that B site, it's already down under lock and key.
Quick to change the tides of this round, of this game, really. Fiend don't really want to allow Sinners to run away with it that easily. Of course, 4v3 is a situation that Sinners are skeptical on. They've closed out both exits from this B site, hoping that they can sort of close them in. They can sort of get eliminated by the explosion. Oh dear, oh no. That blocks his Oscar's position when it comes to the AWP. It blocks him off from trying to challenge the kills. It's not the best situation. But at least they get 2 kills in the process, so it's still an expensive round from Feed. So that is something that Sinners need to take highly about.
That's massive, because look at the amount of rebuys they have to do. Victor, Red Star, and Dreamer, they're quickly allowing all the cash to leak out of their pockets. Where they would have had 5,000 in reserve, they don't have that anymore. So that is definitely a dent that they need to worry about. And I really like how Sinners approached that round, even if they ended up losing it, because they've constantly been going for the flash and push retake sort of aggression around Banana, and this time they changed it. They wanted to play it proactively, play it on top of the broken wall. It didn't work out for them, but it does happen often. Red Star, he gets caught out by Zedko's mid-aggression, and Oscar is there to supplement. Dreamer, I don't think he's been checked. Maybe he gets an opportunity here to pick up Zedko, but now he's being barraged by bullets. Some recovery has been made by the terrorist side, but Oscar, because he was able to get that additional kill, it's still going the way of Sinners so far.
It is indeed. I like the aggression that Zedko showed. It just shows that they're eager to change up the pace, and it really can't allow Fiend to get too comfortable on their approaches. But now I think they're eager to get the show on the road. Oscar's holding down the line, and he will be able to deliver as well in the meantime. Oh, Dreamer, he had the footsteps, but doesn't check his corner. Well played by Sinners, covering all tracks, having each other's back. Sinners, they look favorites to close out map number 1.
Oscar's approaching that 30 kill mark, and Sinners wouldn't want it any differently. They know that Oscar is a high impact player. He's the AWP. He's the AWP magician as far as the Sinner side is concerned. And unfortunately for the Fiend side, the man often responsible for their victories, Harn, he's not putting up the same level of impact. I mean, and I think you can see it on his expression right now. He's feeling quite pressured. He knows that he's not able to have the same impact that he's grown accustomed to.
Yeah, I'm not sure why there's a sniffs flag going on. It's just the Fiend team we're looking at. But I guess the space to talk about the offer that Pinnacle is talking about right now. They've got a €10. You get €10 in return if you bet €10 on esports over at pinnacle.com/odds. And you can do that by using the code CUP21 upon sign up. Obviously, there are some terms and conditions that do apply, but yeah, you need to make sure that when it comes to betting, you are responsible and only bet what you can afford. And when the fun stops, you must stop, of course. But Sinners, I don't think they're showing any signs of stopping right now. 2 rounds away from victory on map number 1, their own map pick, and they look on the highway to sort of get themselves to that ending mark.
I wouldn't be surprised if they close it out right here and right now. But Fiend, they're no slouches. The only thing in between them and the finish line might just be their money. Something they definitely have to worry about. Oh, I love how Oscar is playing this very proactive angle. Playing it up close and personal. Similar to how Harn was playing in Boiler, but look at that, Dreamer. He's taken 5 billion points of damage from the nuclear bombs that are being thrown his way, and now Fiend just want to aggress on Banana. They would only have to deal with one player, but now, because the rotation's coming in and they've taken too long to jump the gun, they have to choose a different avenue of approach as far as this round is concerned. 50 seconds remaining, and I do think brackets will be their eventual destination.
Sinners really look polished this time around on Inferno. For that reason, they're the ones to line up ahead. Zedko pulling the trigger onto Bubble. 2 kills go to his name, and Neofrag hasn't quite shown his card just yet. Spray down, it takes some time to deliver, and he will be able to find the second one as well. Sinners on map point currently, and they're looking really strong.
That double up from Zedko and Neofrag, that was so incredible. Such a clever setup in the last few seconds of the round, because they know you're not going to be able to clear out every single angle. To have the 2 players under shelter, there's no way they check the double angle twice. In fact, Zedko actually peeked out wide just so that they wouldn't be able to spot out Neofrag, and he was able to capitalize on it fully. So some of these micro individual plays, they're going a long way as far as Sinner's longevity in this game is concerned. Now, Fiend, this is their last opportunity to bring it back. Their money's very weak. The only piece of utility they have is a fake flashbang. And, I do think the tide is in the way of Sinners right now. Lots of money, lots of utility, and lots more confidence. Fiend. They recognize that they have to take these aim duels. There's no other way to go about it, so I think they'll just be hitting the B bomb site.
They don't have any utility. It's really difficult. As you said, they need to take these aim duels and they're going to push right through. Dry as well, smoke out. Oh, that actually helps them out. Oh dear. Oh, that might be the situation that they do require. B-Stick finds 2 kills, but it might not be good enough. They found the B site, and now Sinners are on a quick pursuit of that retake.
How does this retake end up working out for them? Do Sinners even go for it? What's the idea behind this? A double up in Cathedral does mean that a bait and switch sort of setup will make it very hard for Sinners to move in. But they do want to. They know they've got money. And they are attempting it. Flashbang comes out. Red Star, it's a lineup for him. And Dreamer will be adding 1 more to the tally. Fiend, they're still holding on to this.
And it all came down to miscommunication from Sinners. They threw down a molly and they threw down a smoke right after it. And that molly could have been the down for a Fiend in that hold. But no. They gave them the space. They permitted them to crush through. And that gives Fiend another living chance to stay in this game. 15-12. Can the gap be closed for us? I'm not even sure at this point.
I don't know, but the one thing that does end up working out in their favor is the potential that Sinners, their economy can still be broken down. There's only 1 player on the A side. They are marching on forward because they know that they've made a misplay with regards to their positioning. Bubble, he's happy to capitalize on it, and Zedko's the only man remaining in Library. Shock, he gets pincered in from 2 angles. Apartments is no longer his domain, and B-Stick is still alive and kicking on the server, but he has to reroute his efforts from Apartments because now they know that he could come from Boiler. 2 players lacking HP on the terrorist side, and now Sinners. Do they go for the retake? I would hope not.
Oh man, a good note for Sinners is if they do elect going for it is that Victor and Bubble fairly low, but no, as you said, as you mentioned, that the most, I guess, positive call from them would be to save because, quite frankly, economically, they're not doing too swell, are they? They've got zilch in the bank when it comes to Shock, and Neofrag can barely hold his own. Zedko, he's got 200 bucks, but saving that info would really help out. Getting an extra kill would be even better. Okay, so he increases his bank account statement from 200 to 500, and for that reason, after the round, he'll be down to 2,400 to fully buy up on utility. So Sinners, they're okay when it comes to money after all. Might be a little bit difficult to get a weapon onto Shox's hands. And I wonder what the call is from them, because, as I said, Neofrag and Shock can barely get themselves a good weapon into it, and Sinners, they want to make sure they make the right call, therefore they do bring out a timeout.
This puts them in between a rock and a hard place, of course, as you mentioned. Beastick and Oscar having 4K, that allows them to drop weapons. There will be some utility lacking here for Shock, I believe, but the underlying problem is whether or not they even have a chance in the next round. If they invest completely, their loss bonus of 2,400 will simply not be enough to carry them forward in the next round. So, Fiend, realistically, they might not even have to play against 2 gun rounds. Ex-Warrior. I'm not really sure what decision they have to go for. I think they've elected to save just enough money that they can still end up buying in the next round and go for a shoddy buy as far as Shock is concerned. And Beastick. Relying on Oscar to maybe get the opening duels. But he hasn't been granted that opportunity just yet. Fiend, they'll be heading on over to Banana.
The smoke sort of gives away the fact that Sinners are playing a far back approach onto the B site. Fiend maybe considering it might be an obfuscation technique. Maybe to lure them onto the site. Instead, they opt for making their way onto the mid side. Zedgo seems to be in trouble when it comes to Dreamer. MP9 investment coming through from the Sinners side. Doesn't pay off. Spotted out one. Oh dear, Zedgo, he progresses. That's not going to pay off for him. Shock is able to, well, really get shut down in that endeavor. Oscar's all by himself on the site. Can he deliver? One shot found, but Dreamer puts his bullets right through the box and end up on Oscar's back. 2v4, and Fiend, they're on the verge of closing out this game, taking it to overtime, closing out the scoreline. Fiend, they've been awoken, and they don't want to allow Sinners to get away with it that easily.
This would be a massive comeback for Fiend if they can close it out in overtime. And you can see the mentality of Fiend going into this. They know that if they can take the guns out of Sinner's hands, there's not going to be much of a chance in this next round. Beastick, he is holding on to that MP9 for dear life, but that was because he wanted to keep a teammate alive, and now, unfortunately, even that's been taken away. 15-14, and I don't think we would have it any other way, Pavlos.
Oh, absolutely not. This series is not disappointing, and we're only on map 1, Inferno. We've talked about the prospects of this being a very close game, and it has unfolded to be one as well. Final buys coming out from the Sinners side with a chance to close things out here, but they need something similar to a miracle. I believe they definitely need to perform on an individual level at this point, because Fiend, they found entries where they shouldn't really have. Although Sinners, they looked really strong when it comes to it. Hard expects the boost. How about that? This gives them a clear space to victory. They've got the numbers, and now they can steam on forwards. Flash out. They're going to start pushing through. Zedgo has been spotted. Smoked out completely. Lines a shot through the smoke, and he's successful in finding Victor. Shock. What can you do with this dead Deagle? Zedgo as well will try and reconfigure in his similar position with his teammate. Have that lineup for him. Near frag, not the best weapon to deal with that endeavor, and Bubble is able to capitalize on her. Only one player towards the B side. Zedgo finding one more kill. 3 versus 3 as the scoreline is equalized. Beastick, you've got a strong task ahead of you. You need to hold the cavalry back, but he can't do that. Flash to delay them slightly, but with 1 minute remaining, it is Fiend to get themselves a plant onto the B side.
Beastick, he hasn't been able to keep them back, and now Harn, he's flexing his muscles. He's already taken control of Banana, but he doesn't anticipate the second player coming forward. Beastick knows where the player is, but Harn will defend. It's just Shock remaining. We're on the verge of overtime, and Shock, can you get this 1v3? The bomb is taking down Dreamer and Bubble very low, and a little bit of utility present as well, so a Molotov and Flash will allow him to clear out an important angle, but at the end of the day, Dreamer, he brings it to overtime.
Well, how about that? 15-15, and Fiend, they know they still got a job to do. They know that they shouldn't really be comfortable about this situation, but with the momentum illustrated and the scoreline currently, this could not be a closer game, and Pinnacle does know it. The odds reflect it clearly. 15-15, and it's anyone's game. Sinners, they need to bounce back from this. They mustn't let the previous rounds get to them. They need to snap their fingers and get into the mentality of a winner. And if they don't do so, I'm afraid Fiend will take advantage of it.
Now, Sinners, they no longer have to worry about economy. They just have to make sure they play a solid CT side. But can they do that? Fiend, they themselves had a lot of pressure as far as money was concerned, and perhaps this is their opportunity to turn things around. They are pressuring Sinners so well on their own map pick. This also gives them a fair bit of comfort as they start to move on to Mirage, but can they actually close this out? Well, we're about to find out, because Oscar, he's been destroyed. The HP damage that came off of that collateral, that was huge. And that allows Chalk to actually pick up two versus two, as Dreamer is able to put a bullet into the head of Shock. Zetko and Neofrag, now they've got to go for the retake.
Yeah, but the site hasn't quite, the bomb hasn't quite gone onto the site just yet. It will just shortly get planted, as Fiend will try and reposition. Dreamer's got an excellent angle on Neofrag here. Smite thrown out so they can isolate the kills. One by one, they start to trickle in forward. Dreamer's shown his card, but Hahn hasn't. Now he has, but it's too late, so there's no players on the Sinner side remaining to capitalize on that fact. And Fiend, they line up ahead 16-15 in overtime.
Fiend are actually ahead, Pavlos.
They are.
You
it's a
wouldn't
change
expect...
of pace, isn't it?
Uh-huh. We are in overtime now. You can tell that Sinners, they don't feel too comfortable at all. The ground under them, it's starting to get cold, but look at Zetko's position. Will he be spotted out? I think he might have given off a footstep, and Victor is anticipating it. Dreamer and Victor, they're tag teaming up, and now it's on the responsibility of Oscar to bring it back. He does. The numbers are equalized, and a Molotov will keep them at bay. The T's, they're scrambling to get some of the advantage back, but I think Oscar might have spotted ahead there. He knows where Bubble's coming from. Bubble not really showing us his cards at the moment, but Beasick, he comes out on top. Oscar, he wants to sweeten the deal. Perhaps he can come around. The Bubble has made it expensive. It just comes down to Dreamer, AK in hand, up against two.
Oh, it's messy. You know, both teams are under pressure when kills go all over the place. From mid, from the entrance towards the A site. Every single one of these kills have been dicey. And Dreamer with only 13 points of health, what can you do, man? He's the clutch master. If there's anyone to pull it ahead, it's him! One kill going his way. He needs to find B-Stick now.
Oh, he knows. I think he has.
He's coming from under. Oh, he does. He can't know. Surely not. He'll get the better of him. He has no idea. And B-Stick will be able to deal with him with no problem whatsoever. Sinners, they're keeping this a close scoreline, 16-6.
Oh, man, it's a bit disappointing that Dreamer actually got caught off guard by the dead body there. He fired off a couple of shots because he thought it was a CT head, but it's just a body conveniently pretending to be alive. Okay. Just leaning against the wall. It's advanced Counter-Strike, dying in that fashion just to psych out the opponent in a future prospect. Harn, both AWP players not being able to hit their mark. That does, of course, allow a clean early game. Neofrag, he wants to be aggressive. He wants to get that early advantage because they know if Fiend are allowed to run around willy-nilly, they're happy to take the advantage away.
For us, you know, there's a lot of pressure on the game when every trigger being pulled is one that you need to clutch your butt on. Neofrag, he's been taken down though, but Hahn can say the same. Fiend heading onto that A site, and Sinners, they've got the right amount of players to deal with this situation. Haven't quite made their mind up yet, which is what they're really careful of, but it's a change of pace not having a kill early on in the round. It is completely the prospect they're looking at right now. But it looks like they will want to approach the B site, and Neofrag will be there and waiting. AWP at hand, lining the first shot, and needs to back out of it. He's got the reinforcements available for him as well, and Cindery will delay them, but Fiend, they're not going to aggress so far. They're going to hold back. They've got 40 seconds to play with, but losing a play every so often isn't a really good point for them.
Who comes out ahead in the first half of overtime? It is seeming to be favored for Fiend, or rather Sinners, because they've got 2 players on the B bomb side. They just have to hold down the wire. Neofrag wants to get on top of the box to get himself a better angle, but they've been completely blocked out courtesy of these smokes. There's only 15 seconds remaining, so the pressure to get the bomb down is high. Sinners, they've got all 5 members remaining. Neofrag, he's happy to pick up 1, even gets a second, and it is all down to him holding down the B side. So much pressure, and the bomb, or rather the nade, will be what takes away the bomb carrier.
Fiend might have taken the first round of overtime, but it's Sinners to come out ahead half-time of it, 17-16, and it's really still anyone's game. 2 rounds required for Sinners to close things out, but there's still a potential for Fiend to get 3 rounds in a row and draw this game in their own favor. For us, we're given a treat here. This is Counter-Strike at its finest. Of course, things got messy when there's nerves being boiled up. Of course, there are going to be mistakes, but that's when things do get exciting.
I want to see the CT side completely unchained come out from Fiend, because you know they've got 2 AWP players, Red Star and Harn. How can they have an impact here? Sinners, they know this. They know that the double op is very likely from Fiend, and that's why they throw out double early nades onto Fallen.
It's not double, it's triple. He said 3 nades.
Just completely nuke out anybody that's trying to play off of the corner, and it does seem like that's worked at keeping them back. Even a Molotov, just that insurance policy, make sure that there's no way they're aggressing. Fiend, they've got 2 players on the B bomb side, 1 AWP on either side station to protect Inferno. Make sure that those useless boxes won't be blown up by the C4.
Although the first approach to the B site seemingly was a brute force contact, brute force strategy. Looks like now Sinners are opting for more of a divide and conquer situation. Leaving a player towards the A site, causing a lot of noise, a lot of havoc. Red Star's already repositioning. Ooh. Sinners, I think they've managed to bamboozle them a little bit.
Oh no.
Red Star, he's moving out of position. Incendiary thrown out. Smoke as well. Bubble, it's all by himself. He's got the repositioning from his teammate, but will it be there on time? Sinners, they're lingering, but now they're going to start pushing through. Flash coming out. Shock able to live onto Victor. And now, can they find the finishing blows onto the rest of them? Bubble tries to find the kill, but no. He's there to deliver. 3 kills going to his name. And Oscar puts that Eagle to a test. Puts the AWP aside. Tries for the no-scope, but Red Star comes out victorious. They want to stay in the game. Shock is the final reigning player, but not for long, as Fiend will take him out of his misery.
The nerves on Bubble to hold down that flashbang in the way that he did. That was crazy. Up until the last few seconds, there was no panic whatsoever being exhibited by Bubble, and that's evidenced by the fact that he perfectly timed that flashbang. He came out on top with 3 players on the spray down, and we all saw those shots from Red Star. The dab at the end for the no-scope, the lightning fast flicks. Fiend, I do think they're contenders for winning out Inferno, but Sinners, they've got a job ahead of them. They've got to stop this right here, and they are on the disadvantageous side, on the verge of losing it out. How do they approach this? Fair bit of utility being taken away from the T side as they initially contest Banana. Now, they're playing a split style of play. You mentioned divide and conquer before, and I do think that is a big part of their default, just making sure that Fiend won't aggress. This really works out in their favor because Fiend haven't been able to show the same type of aggression that Oscar was when they moved on into overtime. So, let's see how this one pans out.
Again, Sinners. What I do notice is that they sensed some initial utility to give them some extra space when it comes to the attack and find the most optimal angles from where they need to push from. That's what they're going for again when it comes to this angle, but do they expect Harn having his crossfair set up? B-Stick with a jump comes out, and B-Stick connects the first shot onto Harn, and now Red Star is being challenged 1 by 1. Bubble can't do too much, only finds 1 kill before he gets traded out. In the B site, it is open for the taking. It is barren of counter-terrorists, and they will be easily getting themselves into it, getting themselves a lead once more. Oscar with the backline hold, 2 kills to his name, will close out the round in a dominant fashion for Sinners.
Fiend. They still have 1 lifeline remaining. Can we see a double overtime, ladies and gentlemen? That's the big question. Bubble already on 33 kills. He's generally not the player you see leading the charge, but I am glad that he's taking a bit of initiative. It's not Harn shining right now. It's not Dreamer. They've both gotten a bit of highlights, but not the same as Bubble at all. He's chiming in when everybody else fails to do so. Sinners, they still have the pressure of wanting to close this out. A fair bit of damage on the T side. Victor, he might have just cemented the idea that Fiend will be able to get to a double overtime, because look at how good his position is. No repositioning will be freely allowed from the center side, and now the pressure is on them to push on to B.
Oh, I like the Molotovs being thrown out, but they're not really going to help out because Bubble will hide between the smoke. Zetko, first one to chime with a kill against Harn, but does bring things to a more equal standpoint. Bubble peeks out, gets one kill, spraying out onto the infrag, finding the finishing blow. Yes, he's successful in doing so. 2 players remaining on the center side with 1 minute remaining. Dreamer from behind, getting his first headshot onto his opponent. It's all up to Oscar, and he has to fall back. It's shortly to be the equalizer for Oz. It's shortly to be second overtime.
Hold that thought, Pavlos, because he still has 50 seconds. This could be the 1v3, and what a way it would be to close out overtime. Now he's got the opportunity.
Surely not.
Okay, he's got him the first shot. Maybe you get another opportunity here. Goes over for the flick, and now it's just a 1 versus 1. And Fiend, their last member, is rotating in from Banana, and Oscar is anticipating it. Watch this, Pavlos. He's actually waiting for the peek around from mid, but I don't think he'll be able to do it in time. I think this is the point where he starts to doubt himself. As Red Star is coming around the corner, Oscar, he's looking away. This is the worst timing possible for Oscar. Does he still get away with it? There's 15 seconds remaining, and now the pressure is on to get the bomb down. But Fiend, Red Star, he's coming all the way around from long. AWP in the hands of Oscar, of course. It is the one shot just to take it away, but he's not got a lot of HP to work with either. This would be the clutch of the day. Can he stop overtime, or will Red Star be able to pull them through? A bit of a stalemate. Oscar will find it, but the smoke fading favors Red Star, and Fiend, they will deny it. We're going to double overtime.
Oh, Oscar, you can feel that. Look at his nerves racking up. He nearly had the 1v3 clutch to give his team the victory, but that doesn't come underway.
Oh man, for a second I thought that he was actually going to peek out on mid, and that surely would have gotten him the frag. Just 3 or 4 seconds would have made all the difference in the world.
Wow. Double AWP set up now from the Fiend side. As we approach yet another overtime, they quickly do push forwards. Beastic putting 2 shots onto his opponents, and that means that Harn will be able to get himself some space to get himself one as well. 3v4 Sinners look favoured, but can they get the lead? Been stopped in their track so far, as Fiend seem to have the right lineup. But they're lingering, and I'm not surprised, really, waiting for the rotation to come out. Shock, headshot connects into Bubble, and that's what Sinners need. 2 versus 4, they've got double the amount of players that their opponents have on the server currently. Harn with the AWP there, trying to connect one, but he's in the middle of nowhere, and he's caught off guard. 19-8 at least. Sinners get themselves right back in the lead.
What a way to start off overtime number 2, because Sinners, all of these rounds have been quite back and forth, but this is not an example of them. They came out on top with 3 frags. Fiend, they've got to be worried right now, because if you're on the CT side, you want to cement it as much as possible. Surely we knew from the pregame that this was going to be a back and forth game, but this much already on map number 1, I don't know about that. I think Sinners could have closed it out with Oscar. The Fiend, they're not giving it away. They are holding it down with their fingernails tightly gripped onto this round. And both teams, you can tell that their fingers are turning blue from this. Zedco, nice little opening frag to start things off. That does give a bit more mobility for Sinners to work around with. And the 2-on-2 setup does mean that regardless of where Sinners choose to go, this should be a relatively favorable duel. Now, coming up brackets, see how this pans out.
They've only spent one smoke of utility towards the B site, which does keep Red Star onto that side of the map, but instead they will be greeting 3 other players of defense here at the center side as they push slowly forwards. Another smoke being drawn out, but they've got 50 seconds to work with. Dreamer, he's got the right idea, good lineup, and they've got 3 players on this approximate side. Oh, and he's in a very aggressive angle. If more than one person peek him at the same time, but it's a collateral! Are you kidding me, Han? That's 3 kills! Oscar does manage to pull the trigger first, which means he keeps his team alive in this endeavor. Dreamer looks to capitalize on one, but 30 seconds remaining. May need the nade to finish off the deal. He's successful in doing so. Repositions onto Shock. That's insane, Fiend. They find the equalizer, and it's 19-19.
What a collateral from Harn. And that's not just a collateral that ends up lining up in his crosshairs. No, this is something that he was consciously aware of. He knows that if they're all pushing in together and he peeks out into them, it gives him a much better chance of getting a finishing blow. Look at that. He's expecting the lineup. Even tags up Neofrag in the process. And I know you said that Oscar pulled the trigger first, but that wasn't even the case. Harn ended up shooting him through the wall as well.
Ooh.
Now Sinners, they're taking control of Banana. They want to take it right back. They've got B-Stick nudged up onto B, taking control of Cart. And if he does decide to go to B, that'll be the ideal setup for Sinners. Harn comes around the corner. Oscar has been obliterated. No longer part of the server. No more parties for him. Oh, he's making it look too easy.
Oh, absolutely. They're not giving them a chance, and I guess the only chance that Sinners may have this round is moving on to the B site. Only one player holding it, though, but one will be good enough, because Neofrag, there's nothing you can do about it. B-Stick, the in-game leader of Sinners, needs to fall back and recover the bomb. Zedko does line one, so still within the rounds of possibility. Ooh, they've actually bamboozled their opponents to get out of the A site. It's now their own. They need an Oscar-worthy performance, and Zetko, I think he's feeling it. Another headshot connected. Smoke drawn. Oh, no way, Sinners.
No way.
Zetko. Oh, he's got the lineup. One shot coming through in the favor of Sinners, and now it's down to 2-on-2. From a 2v4 to a 2 versus 2, and now they might have a chance to bring it in their favor. They've got the defensive advantage. Bubble needs to peek through. The smoke dissipates, and Zetko takes advantage for it. 4-piece for the man. He needs one more kill to do it, become the full-on ace. Red Star pulls out the deagle. He is able to connect one, but B-Stick is there to deliver. Sinners topsy-turvy this round, but it's them to gain the lead at the end of this half-time.
That was so much space being given up to Zedko because he can come around from Boiler when they're not checking it. Manages to get the player on mid, and because that is the case, the information that the rotations must have been called out from Sinners has been entirely telegraphed, or rather from Fiend. I love the way Zedko played it. So much confidence, pushing through the smoke, taking individual duels, getting the extra getting the more favorable angle against Bubble. You gotta love to see it. Zedko hasn't particularly been the one that is fragging out for his team. I mean, that Oscar definitely goes to Oscar with 37. And B-Stick in a close second, actually. That's a bit surprising. I didn't notice it as much up until now. But regardless.
He's really been stepping up today.
Yeah. Look at B-Stick's stats. He's not even an AWP player.
He's insane. He really is. How we can balance being an in-game leader and fragging out like that is really cool to see. I'm expecting to see a technical timeout here as Fiend seems that they haven't run out of the server, and Sinners also the same can be. I imagine something has been communicated through chats. But wow, man, this is close. This is very close. And you can tell that all of these players are nervous, anxious. First game of the day, and they're already being challenged substantially.
You mentioned Beast. Go on.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, you go ahead.
All right, I will take that privilege. You mentioned B-Stick being an in-game leader and fragging out, and that honestly just reminds me of Blame from Complexity. Very few players are able to frag out in that instance. And I like how this game has gone on for so long that one of the players decides to go for a little snack. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but yeah. It is very impressive to see Beastick frag out in that regard.
Difficult technical pause. But I guess gives some time for people if they want to take advantage of an offer that Pinnacle has got at hand right now. Heading over to pinnacle.com/odds does give you the latest odds when it comes to their matches, and specifically Fiend versus Sinners currently. They've also got an offer which, if you, for the first time, bet €10 on Esports, you can get €10 in return. But yeah, of course, you need to use the code CUP21 upon sign up if you want to take advantage of that that offer as well. Make sure you do bet responsibly though, as when the fun stops, you yourselves have to stop. But man, this is a close endeavor. Completely 19-20 right now, and Sinners, they managed to find the advantage from the T side as well, which makes me wonder, can they close things out now that they're on the favorable side? Can this game come to an end finally? Of course, it's a difficult one. We talked about the situation where it's anyone's game, and I think Inferno might be one of the most important maps of this series, Ancient as well as the decider, but when it comes to Mirage, Fiend usually is unchallenged. And I think both of the teams know of this prospect heading into this potential final overtime half.
Yeah, I believe Harn has reconnected on the server. I want to see how this AWP player performs when they're on that terrorist side. I don't think this favors Fiend anymore, because they're on the T side, they're down in the deficit. Sinners, they get a chance at double AWPs, and they've got all the money to do it. Now, they've just got to deliver. Will we potentially see a triple overtime? That is the question mark on your screens at the moment. Fiend boosting up a player into apartments. Slowly taking control of brackets. At least that's the general idea. They know that Sinners have set up a smoke, so up until then, they will just have to wait out the timer as they slowly creep into apartments. No proactive plays will be coming out from Sinners either, so don't think it'll be too early when we see a first kill come out, but this is where Fiend are starting to set up.
Set up. Utility being thrown out as well. Zetko tries to hold it down his line shot, can't. He's isolated between the flames, and the only thing he can do is shoot his weapon and wait for his imminent demise. Oscar puts that AWP to good use, still down to 4 versus 4 as the numbers have been equalized. But Bubble, look at this, moving towards the CT side, but the timing is wrong. Beastick takes advantage over it, and now they've got the numbers advantage. Heading over to the east side though, the rotation is coming in from Sinners as well. They've got 2 players dedicated per site as they polarize their setup. But Victor is eager to get the push on the road. Neofrag with the AWP still at hand. The double up setup working wonders for Sinners. Neofrag shows his line up behind, able to deliver once more. Beastick is now rejoiced, and now they'll be really happy with the situation. 3v1, this is doable for Victor. He needs a worthy performance to close things out for his team. 1 versus 3, and he's being approached from all different angles. First, to be challenged by Oscar, and there's nothing he can do about it. Sinners, they'll be gaining themselves a 2-round advantage. Not only that, but they will find themselves on map points.
This is guaranteed that Sinners can stay in the game even if it goes to a triple. A lot of pressure on Fiend. Initially, Sinners looked a lot more convincing. In those first 6 to 7 rounds, we saw how good their advantage was. But Fiend, they made a very convincing argument for a comeback. Whether or not they can close it out is still up for debate. Unfortunately, I think it is going the way of Sinners more and more as time passes on.
Ooh, they're opting out of the double up approach so they can aggress towards mid. I really like that shot. Will aggress on forwards, looking for the first kill. They do not expect it. Neofrag chimes in. Let's go as well. Sinners, this is the fashion you want to end the game, but Bubble will be bullets in your way. But it's not going to really matter because Sinners, they completely devour their opponents. Han, he's all by himself, but I think the deed has been done. AWP at hand, mollied out. He does have the bomb at his disposal, but Shock will peek from the shadows, and so will Oscar. And that will be the closer, ladies and gentlemen. Sinners, they close out the game, 22-19, as we head over to map number 2, Inferno, up next. So do not go anywhere. We'll be back right after a very short break.
Welcome back, everybody, to map number 2, Fiend versus Sinners, and what a fickle affair that map number 1 was. Inferno, coming down to the last wire. Pavlos, why don't you take it away?
Pistol round now coming through as Fiend slowly approaching this A site. Definitely want to bounce back here on their own map pick. Mirage, a very strong prospect for them. Smoke's drawn out as well. They're approaching this nicely. Flash as well. Sinners, they don't have the right setup for this. They're away from the site completely. This should be a simple take from Fiend. Getting themselves to bomb plant will be a simple endeavor, but Sinners, they want to go for a full 5-man stack on the retake.
Let's see how this retake ends up working out for them. 4 players committed from Fiend. On to CT. A bit of a stalemate as far as Sinners are concerned, and with the flashbang, they're going to peek out. The CTs are anticipating it, but they're still losing out. Aim duels, Victor and Dreamer, they're getting kills left and right, and it is all over. It's just Shock remaining, 1 on 3, and his head will be ripped to smithereens as the round goes the way of Fiend.
What sort of Sinners going for a gamble play at the start? Didn't quite expect them to dedicate 3 players towards the B site. Who does that anyway? I don't. Not in my Golden Over endeavors, that's for sure. If someone is stacking towards the B site, it's like, why is no one on the A site? Why is no one going there? But no, yeah, you always have that person sort of flaming me forever I go. If I go A, I get flamed. If I go B, I go flamed. But the reason I get flamed is because I'm just lagging through the map. Yes. Anyway. You're not here about my Golden Over endeavors. You're here about this matchup, and Fiend, they're doing a splendid job so far. 1-0, they've got a better weaponry heading into this next round.
Yeah, knowing how good they are on Mirage, let's see how this throwaway round will go. Do they end up giving it up? Because the Deagles can still be very deadly around the corners, around the smokes. And they can't actually find any comfortable duels, can they? Zedko, he's been such a menace, and he's still alive and kicking. Not for long as Dreamer picks up 2, but I think Fiend might have just salvaged the situation. Still, 2 players coming in from Connector. It's Beastick and Shock, who want to take control. Now both chiming in. We're about to walk right into these duels. Victor has been brought down low, and because 2 players on the T side are so low, it should be a doable affair. But as I say that, their chances, they're starting to dwindle. Shock, he'll be greeted by the AK of Dreamer, and man, what a save from Dreamer. It
was a beautiful save. Although it got fairly expensive due to Zedko's double kill on that firebox angle, still, it is a victory going to the Fiend's side, and the Bulgarians should be happy about that. What they've got a choice now is the amount that they will be buying up. Do they go for the AK Enforcement, hoping that they won't be dropping any other players this round, considering that Sinners will be going for the full-on eco? That is likely what they're going for. They've got 3 AK-47s at play. The UMP save from Han earlier, Bobble as well on that Galil. Should be a simple endeavor. And seeing as if the A site is the avenue they're approaching once more, and seeing that it's pretty much barren from the Sinners side, completely left alone to its own demise.
Ooh.
And Bobble has a lovely little lineup there. Molotov will be helping out in that endeavor as well. Shock does get 1 kill in the process, but I think that's it. Fiend, they should get themselves a simple third round here.
And this Mirage game has started off exactly how we anticipated it. Fiend, of course, they are the team to beat as far as Mirage is concerned, and Sinners have yet to show any signs of life. It did get a bit dicey in that second round, but of course that hasn't culminated into much of a round. But this is where we see the guns come out. The big guns blazing. Oh man, that lineup looks so good that I really wanted to see an additional kill come out from Bubble. You know, make it the full stack, but it is what it is. Fiend, they've got their eyes set on A because they've got the bomb there, and they only have 1 player acting as a menace towards mid, and he should be able to join the rest of the team from Connector because it will be left relatively unchallenged. Victor comes around from Palace, and he's picked up Shock.
Yes, indeed. It is a 1-for-1 trade in that endeavor, though, as they do aggress forwards. Red Star gets himself another kill on the board, but no Zedko able to reply in favor. 3 against 3. But look at the rotation coming in from Bubble towards mid. It seems like Zedko is still wary of such a rotation, though Beastick makes the push onto the A site a lot harder. Getting 1 kill, but Bubble with the opening through that smoke gives himself a kill to work with. Equal numbers across the board. It's already looking to be a close game as Sinners want to bounce back here, get themselves a round spray down, taking its time to sort of come across and giving themselves that final blow. Bubble not going for the aggressive play, though Oscar will be able to catch Bubble off guard, looking in the wrong direction. Bomb dropped, and now Victor, he's got to deal with 2 players simultaneously. One in short, one in close quarters, and Oscar will be able to shut him down without too much problem.
Very nicely done by Oscar. Saved the rounder at the end because I think it could have gotten a lot more expensive. Even through the flashbang, his AWP still comes to light. Sinners, It's not often that you see a team pick up a round against Fiend immediately after they get their hands on guns, but they do seem to have done it. Of course, the money will still be amazing on the Fiend side as far as being able to buy up AKs is concerned, but let's see if Oscar's aggression pays out. Quick scope to Dreamer, and that is Palace being secured. The 1 point of contest that they had on A, it's been taken away from them. Now it comes down to Neofrag to potentially equalize the numbers, as he will be the first point of contact.
Spray down from Neofrag, giving themselves another kill in the endeavor. Sinners want to get themselves back in within grasp lengths of Fiend. Definitely could do that, but Red Star still being a menace on the mid as well. Neofrag finds one, but Victor on close quarters, shutting that D down. And it seems like Fiend are really happy about getting mid control, but the fact that they lose so many players in the process, losing the Palace flank as well, doesn't really give them too many trump cards across this map. They want to find an advantage anywhere, but wherever they approach, it seems like Sinners have an answer to it.
It is a 2 versus 3, and it should be significantly favoring the Sinners side, but we know that Red Star and Victor, they can potentially come up with something big. He's avoided the Molotov narrowly, but he cannot avoid the bullets. Red Star, he's carved himself out of 1 versus 2. Is this doable, Pavlos?
Oh, the bomb is being planted in close quarters. Oscar will peek on through, and this shouldn't be a difficult shot for him to deliver, and it is not. Defuse coming underway. I think he's looking for some extra utility, maybe a defuse kit, but I don't think he's found anyone in close proximity. Other than that, no, it's Sinners. They've got 2 players remaining, and in that prospect, they will be getting themselves a second round, closing up the gap and having 1 between themselves and their opponents currently.
Yeah, you mentioned being able to close it up, and I do think they are on track for it, considering the fact that money will be a bit shaky on the T side. In fact, they don't even have a weapon for Harn. He's just going to be sticking to the pocket AWP. He's very familiar with the op, yes, but the Desert Eagle, it's got 1 major component missing, the scope. See if Shock's aggression pays off. Tries to switch on the spray down, and Fiend, they want to get down and dirty with it. Oh, no.
They actually line up for Neofrag. That's 2 kills to his name, but Hans' swing is quick, like lightning. But now Dreamer, this is a position I've seen him multiple times clutch out round after round, and it's one of the reasons why Mirage is such a masterpiece for this Bulgarian side. Mollied out. He's been spotted. Oscar knows exactly where he is. Gives the information for Zetko to close that deed. And Harn, a man that always seems to have a face of dedication. Spray down coming through, but Beastic lines the shots better than his opponents, and that will be Sinners finding the equalizer.
And because Sinners didn't end up, or rather Fiend didn't end up saving any money in the previous round, this is Sinners waltzing on over to that half advantage. Could Sinners actually be the Titan killers as far as Mirage is concerned? Because I think they do have the makings of a team that could be able to do that. Fiend, we all know their track record on Mirage. But is this the day this all changes? That 80% win rate, it does look very spicy across 41 maps, but will 42 be the answer to it?
I mean, we've seen a fair bit of upsets so far in the first stage of the Swiss, on the first round of the Swiss stage here in the Pinnacle Cup, right? Saw Lyngby Vikings beating out DBL Double Pony the other week, in a 2-0 fashion as well. And considering this is a close matchup, I wouldn't consider it the massive upset that everybody is waiting for. Sinners is a really good squad and has been around this caliber of play for quite some time now. So I wouldn't consider it the upset, but definitely I don't think anybody would have thought that there is a chance for, well, coming into this map, that Sinners would be winning in a 2-0 fashion.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I don't think I don't even think that if Sinners beat out Fiend, it would be an upset at all. No, these teams are evenly matched, for sure. But a 2-0, that would be a shock, for sure. Let's see how this one pans out. Fiend. They're playing a bit of a 2-1-2 setup as far as the T side is concerned. Have one player to draw out attention on mid. They've left the bomb back, so they're going to keep their options open. But look at this, Sinners. Their response is going to be near perfect. With the way the players from on the T side are positioned, that nade and MP9 combo has put Red Star in the grave, and this is near ideal because Sinners, it seems like they're tracing them around the map at this point.
Oh, Beaststick is looking comfortable today. Not only on Inferno, but now on Mirage again. Going to the MP9 with a test with a long-distance headshot. Spicy stuff coming in from the in-game leader, but Bubble is able to come up from behind. Getting a rotation onto him will give him the advantage. Dream as well wins out on a kill on the other side of the map, and that might be what they need. Already finding their way onto the A site. Okay, maybe the tide of this round has completely changed in favor of Fiend. We know that there was early dedication towards the B site for Sinners. Ooh, Dreamer, that was a close call for Oscar. But he's able to survive, so still within the realms of possibility, but that's quickly dwindling away as Victor is putting a shock straight through the skull of Neofrag. Does really limit the chances of Sinners coming ahead in this round. Fiend, they're not letting their opponents run away with this. They want the equalizer, and they want it fast.
Yeah, for Fiend's sake, if they want to take it to map 3, they do need to bring back the numbers immediately. Had they ended up losing this round, once again, their economy would be a bit shaky. That's not the same case for Sinners, of course, because they've got 8,000 on Zedco, they've got 8K on Oscar, and they're even saving an AWP and an AK to boot, so it's not like their money will be heavily contested for a long time right now. I do believe they have a couple more buy rounds in them. And this scoreline being tied up, it just makes the matchup even more spicy. We saw how close Inferno was. There was no telling who'd win out. And where we thought that Fiend would be able to completely crush Sinners on Mirage with how their track record is, with how they've been able to shut down teams left and right, it's not looking like the case at all. Sinners, they've got Mirage under lock and key as well. This is so much information being granted to Sinners. With the AWP being stationed by Oscar and a fair bit of utility being taken out to take control of mid, they know now for sure that it's either directly an A setup or they're going to be hitting B from apartments. Moving in now, the bomb has been collected, but this is where Fiend have to start to move back. I do like this approach from them because the information that's been granted to Sinners, it's simply not enough to scope out whether or not the rotation has been called in, but the question is whether or not the audio information has been relayed to Sinners. I don't think so. And Fiend, they're ready to go on to A, but I think this is telegraphed. This is not enough utility on the B site to be convincing Sinners that this is not an A take.
It's not heading over to the A site now. Smoke's being thrown out. Like Shock, he's got his position aware. Ooh, Smoke just in time, giving them the advantage, but Neofrag does get one kill on the rotation. Is that going to be good enough? They've got the numbers advantage, but Dreamer through the smoke finds a headshot. That is insane. And now that may be the numbers prowess that they require. It's equalized, but they've got control of the site. The smokes do their job nicely. A stand-up take, but catching their opponents off guards was what was required to put themselves up ahead. What Sinners require is a few picks here and there. Without them, they're going to have great difficulty in finding this retake. Victor coming in within the smokes. Han as well from afar. He's got the AWP at play. Beaststick, first one to line the shot in this retake, but the time is ticking and they need to get themselves on the bond. Han putting his mark onto Beaststick. Quickly traded through by Zedco and Oscar, but it's all down to Victor. What can he do? Can he delay it? Surely not. Spray down out, and Neofrag is there to deliver with his teammate holding down the diffusers. Oh, just in time getting it through, and Sinners get themselves a fifth.
Yeah, he'd even reached the green light, but still gets the defuse. All Victor had to do was just line up that one shot, and I think it would all be over. By a hair's breadth, somehow, Fiend. They've actually managed to give up that round. Sinners, they're looking quite comfortable. And there's still a fair bit of money to go around on the center side. You can see heads are being scratched on the Fiend's end because they're not looking as comfortable as they generally do on Mirage. Of course, you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's not like the T side will ever be too favorable on Mirage, but I think the kind of backing that Sinners have built up with the money going their way, with them having AKs, there's a fair bit of cushion to fall back on as far as Sinners are concerned. That's not to say that Fiend can't immediately come back and get themselves a favorable half, but they do have the hallmarks on the center side of a half that will be more successful for them. Oscar, good movement. Should be able to take early control of short, but it's not like anybody is going to be contesting him at the moment. And Fiend seem to want to be pushing up A anytime soon.
They absolutely will. Flashes out, and Shock will be the first man to deal with this endeavor. Neofrag close by to deliver. They line up the shots nicely. Neofrag aggresses with a swing, succeeds with a kill, and now down to 2 players, but Oscar is still there. Oh, and can't do too much with a no-scope. Sinners, that was a stellar hold by them.
I actually love Neofrag's micro play there. After he gets the first 2 frags, he spots an elbow. Even though he's throwing a nade, he chucks it out and he quickly runs away with the knife. And the reason he does that is not just to save his life in that instance, because he can't pull his gun out in time. He does it so the player will be baited into the AWP crosshairs of Oscar, and it worked out perfectly. Sinners, because they're able to keep a hold on their guns for this long, their money's looking good, and Sinners, they can afford aggression. Neofrag wants to push up mid. That should be a freebie for him as long as the deagle doesn't work out. Yep, nice and easy. And Fiend, they want to move into B apartments. Not much to work with.
I like this change of pace from Sinners, and it might be working out. They surely will realize that there's at least the horses coming through from the B site. I was going to say the cavalry, but there's no real firepower on that push, right? They've only got pistols to work with, and B-Stick will be able to deliver. Zetko as well. Han does find a finishing blow 1-1, but apart from that, I think Neofrag will try and hide away, which is basically the one that is lowest from that Sinners size. Ooh, actually he manages to dink out Zetko, so still some damage being connected, but Sinners, they're starting to move away, and I don't think anybody really expected this, and neither us, neither the viewers, neither Pinnacle. This is quite strong showing from Sinners.
They've still got a long way to go if they want to cement their lead in this half, of course. It's not just the idea of getting to that 8th point on the board. It's also about making it a bit more comfortable if you're on the CT side. Maybe they can contest for double digits. It is possible. But of course, Fiend, being no slouches on Mirage, I highly doubt that this kind of comfort will be afforded. But look at this, Dreamer, he's anticipating them trying to clear out Palace, also expecting the Palace Opper, Oscar, not allowed any mobility at all. He's going to be tagged down to 12, and that is Fiend getting a massive advantage as far as the round is concerned. They've got a lot of pressure on the center side now because they've got to reclaim it. Fiend, with the way the bomb is positioned, they should be able to head up connector anytime soon, and they also have the option of going to B. Regardless, wherever they go, the duels will be a lot more favorable for them. Look at this
Fiend sort of work with this. Yeah, you're talking about the repositioning, right? And it seems like Sinners are very proactive when it comes to these Mirage rotations. Something we saw over in Inferno as well, but they're implementing to a T when it comes to the second map as well. What may not work out for them, though, is that Fiend have already doubled back from the B angle. They're heading towards the A site, and winning out on both of their trades so far puts them in prime position to close out this round.
I'm also a big fan of Sinners' adjustment here. They recognize that if there's no way they're going to go to A, or at least if there's no way they will eventually go for the retake, they choose to back off instead. No, they're just holding on to B, making sure they're covering all angles, making it a lot easier for them. Because although they have a fair bit of money on Oscar, the rebuys on AWPs can be very expensive. Even with only a few rounds to go on the rest of the half, they still have a long way to go, and they recognize that the gun rounds will be what carries them through. Want to get to double digits. If they can save this because Oscar has an AWP and because he has 12,000 in the reserve, it does mean that they should be good for 2 more gun rounds at the very least. Maybe even an AWP for an additional player. Who knows? With how Mirage is built, I highly doubt it.
We were praising Fiend quite a bit. We were praising Sinners quite a bit on their rotations, but I think Fiend need most of that credit because they went out on their jewels and they found the A site barren for them to take over. Now, let's have a look at what the odds do depict, because Sinners, They're in the lead, 7-5, with a map in the scoreline for them. So it does seem like they're the favourites currently, but I wouldn't say by a massive margin. Still, Fiend, they have space to close things out. But if you want to bet on those odds, go ahead to pinnacle.com/odds and even make use of a good promotion that Pinnacle have got going. By betting €10 on Esports, you get €10 in return. But you need to sign up using the code CUP21 to do just that. 7-5, Sinners. They've done a stellar job to keep ahead, but Fiend, they have a close leash on their opponents, and I'm not sure they definitely don't want to let go of it anytime soon.
Fiend slowly aggressing up mid with 3 players, 1 in B apartments and 1 in Palace. Not much action to be taken out of this because both teams are at a stalemate. The 2 smokes from the CT side are now starting to dissipate, but an additional one has been thrown out. But look at this, Red Star. He's managed to make it a one-way for himself. Zetko had no idea what came for him there.
Fiend. Okay. It's not the first time they've gotten a first kill, and a lot of the times they translate those early advantages into later round victories. Now trying to find that numbers discrepancy advantage towards the A site. Quickly rotating though, you can already see Oscar trying to get himself onto the A site as soon as possible. But Dreamer will look to push through from Palace shortly. He's a one-man army when it comes to it, but they need to check. Dark Shot pushes through, does catch Victor off guard while he's holding down Sandwich, and now needs to reposition quickly. Does he expect Red Star to be that angle? Smoke saves his life. Red Star does push through, but Shock being sprayed down through the smoke will eventually fall. Dreamer as well chimes in. Oscar puts his mark onto Dreamer, but it's not going to be good enough. Beastick comes in as well, tries to help out. 1-for-1 situation. Headshot through the box. Beastick, is that the timing right for him? Yes, it is. It's a close endeavor, but Sinners come out ahead.
What a way for Red Star to try to hold on to it, but at the end of the day, there simply wasn't enough time. Beastick anticipated that he would try to hold down the bomb, just try to go for the plant there at the end, knows the line of forward, shoots right through the box, and it ends up in between his eyebrows. Now, they've gotten ahead at halftime, for sure, but if you're on the CT side, you want to solidify that advantage as much as possible, because you know that the T side will be a bit pressuring. Fiend, if they can allow double digits to be given up, that'll be massive, because you know that if you want to come back, you've got to be on that T side. It feels a little bit more favorable as far as pressuring the economy is concerned, but doesn't seem like it's entirely out of their hands. Yeah, look at this. Neofrag, he's playing around the smoke, and it is his domain. Red Star, I think you'll fall victim as well. Neofrag, he's a beast in the smoke, and it feels like he's got night vision goggles.
Neofrag holding it down, but Dreamer peeks out from Palace and gives them the ultimate advantage. What they don't have, though, is the bomb. That is what Zetko's got his hands on while he's got his sights on. It's Shock that is literally standing right on top of it. Hello, Victor. Goodbye. He heard the audio cue and was able to reposition accordingly. Now, with the bomb now dropped, and with Sinners having the advantage, they look in a prime position to get themselves to that 9th round.
Look at how far away the Fiend players are from each other. Sinners don't even need to contest this. The idea that within 40 seconds they have to get the bomb, they have to win duels, they have to rejoin, it's looking very concerning. But Dreamer, if there's anybody to do it, it's got to be him. Unfortunately, Shock has given him a quick kissy-wissy and tucked him in bed, read him a bedtime story. It's just Harn remaining. AWP in hand, and he probably wants to save it, to be honest.
How do you not ever tell me any bedtime stories for us?
I don't give you any kissy-wissies either, do I?
It's a shame. It really is. Yeah, let's leave the Kappa Prides out of this situation currently. Because I'm sure Han won't really appreciate it. It's sort of disrespectful when it comes to it, right? Because they had a really good attempt in this situation, but the fact that Sinners were able to capitalize on the bomb dropping and getting the kills in the right position, that was just perfect. Perfect positioning, and they've got a chance to even pull off double digits from the first half, which is really impressive.
Oh, yeah. But I do like the idea that Fiend can go out guns blazing. They've got all the money in the world. an AWP, got 3 AKs, they've got an SG. Look at this. Shock's angle is being anticipated, but you haven't practiced enough of the stairs, Red Star, not knowing where the head will pop out of. The whack-a-mole endeavor doesn't really work out in his favor. Instead, the mole will climb out of the machine and whack him on the head. Yeah,
it's a reversed world.
Not a fan of arcades, huh?
No, absolutely. He's found himself into a vortex, and coming out of it, the roles have been reversed. 4v5 though as Sinners now. They've got the right read in Shock. He falls back. Molly thrown out to keep them at bay for a little bit longer. They've still got a lot of utility. Look at the nades. Every single one of these players is holding it on into an HE grenade from Sinners. Imagine the stack-up possibilities from this, because they could leave their players out for a retake. If they manage to get a numbers advantage, great, but spamming all those nades in one direction, getting themselves a simple kill, it's really cool if that actually pulls out, comes to fruition. Oscar gets challenged, but manages to, can see, I believe it was Bubble to move out to safety as he dropped down to below. The B site still being held from Sinners, and Zetko, he knew exactly what was going on. Simple pickings. Victor, it's a 1-for-1 trade, and Sinners, they get themselves to double digits.
This is a great start for Sinners. On Mirage, not often that you see this much pressure come out on Fiend, but they do still have a chance. If they can pick up the pistol round, yes, it's going to be very important. But if they can get through it, then you know that they've got all the makings of a team that can go for a comeback. Man, I dig the background on this Centers player.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Got a bit of his wardrobe there. You've got graffiti. And now this one as well. The medals in the background. Lots of flexes being thrown out by the Centers players. And I mean, why wouldn't they? Because right now, they're about to topple Fiend.
I've got a lot of medals as well for us, but they're all of them, unfortunately, are participation medals.
The 4 stars on your gold Nova badge.
Ah, yes, those.
You wish you had 4.
Yes, I'm one shy of that. But yeah, let's head into this. Pistol round coming through. Fiend, they've got a chance to bounce back, and the pistol round would really do just that. Dreamer delivering. Zetko does get themselves that 1 versus 1 trade. At least they got the A site and now unlocked, but they need to spend some extra utility to allow them to get this bomb down. Facilitate that space, of course. Victor up close and personal. Zetko sneaking himself into an angle that they had no idea it was being held. Han capitalizes on that information eventually, but Neofrag quickly to trade things through. 2 versus, well, 1 as Red Star. Is the final man remaining as he shuts down Oscar down to 6 points of health. Quite literally 1 bullet away wherever they may hit him.
No
if his pinky flicks out, if he gets shot on his toe, that will be it. That will be his death.
Yeah, it just gave me this stark visual of somebody being able to run around in full kit with a gun, shoot around, fight just as any other healthy player would, but then they get shot in the pinky and they're like, you know what? No, I'm out of commission. Kind of crazy how you can just run around just the same as if you had full health with 1 HP.
Well, it's Counter-Strike, isn't it?
But look at this kill differential, my man. Dreamer on 14. Everybody else, they're about at half. And you can see that being reflected in the grand scoreline. Centers, they're on the verge of typing the 4 dreaded letters, GGWP. Or even worse, GGEZ.
Ooh, yeah, that would be worse, wouldn't it? Han initially does start things off well. The force by working out in favor of Fiend currently. Gap through the smoke, not quite able to close things out, though, as Zetka holds his line towards the catwalk side. Being challenged, of course, by Red Star. Fiend, they've done a stellar job so far. Galil picked up. Sinners, they're in trouble. If they don't shut down Han soon enough, you might be able to buy enough time for the rotations to come in. Looking for the kill, slowly scrambling to find the opening, but they can't quite find it. It's really difficult. Smokes are coming in. HGs as well. Red Star has chimed in. Oscar finds the headshot. B-Stick as well with a finishing blow. It's all down to Victor. 1 for 1. Headshot connects him twice. Victor puts a bullet straight through Oscar's eyes and gives Fiend the victory.
Where we thought that those dreaded letters were about to be typed, Fiend, they can WASD their way out of this. Somehow, they've made it a very tricky affair. Centers. Now they must be... They must be slapping themselves on the neck for this. This could have potentially been their highway to 2-0. If they got to 13, then you know the Fiend wouldn't really have too many fighting chances. I mean, come on, let's be honest. With the kind of firepower that Sinners have, they can surely scrape away 3 rounds. But now the differential is a lot bigger. Now they've got to get through 5, and that's about the same round as many Fiend would need to close out the scoreline. You know, make it a tie. So you can definitely feel the pressure on Sinners now. A massive mistake that might just end up leading us into Ancient. Neofrag has nestled himself into the corner of Connector, which will allow him to potentially get the drop on Bubble, but Bubble's not playing it proactively either, so that does mean that he won't be in danger anytime soon. Nice Deagle kill to start it off from Shock, and I don't think Sinners are too worried about losing that previous round, because they still have a massive opportunity into this. Red Star and Victor, it's all down to them.
It is indeed, but Victor still willing to stay in the fight for a little bit longer, but that won't remain the case as Neofrag manages to square some bullets straight through his chest. Now Red Star, the sole survivor, spots that one. They know where he is, so Sinners, they can even take the 0 risk route by heading towards the B site, but instead, they want to make sure the bomb goes down without any issues. Red Star repositions, and Zetko is waiting for him. Could be said on both ends, really. But Red Star backs out of it, realizes that this situation isn't quite favored. And Sinners, they bring out the Uno reverse card. And they're the ones bouncing right back up again.
Yeah, lots of Uno reverse cards to be had in their back pockets, because Fiend did the same, and then Sinners... Where I started theory crafting about how now Fiend can get back into it, yada, yada, yada. Apparently, Sinners don't care. They've got Deagles, that's all they need. And they want to keep the prospect of Ancient as far away from their monitors as possible. Now, 4 rounds to waltz on over to the finish line. Fiend, their money is actually much worse. Their situation is actually much worse than if they had just ended up losing that Deagle round.
Ah, that is a big oof.
Yeah, you're down to 12-6. The only thing you've got to fight back with is Harn's Scout Rifle. And you can see the signs of desperation being built up on Fiend. Their investment will be a full commitment. An M4 on Red Star, a couple Deagles, a CZ, a Scout Rifle. It's looking tricky.
Ooh, Oscar takes a lot of damage in that endeavor. That does finish off the kill, although they do know there's a stack coming through. Trimmer hasn't been spotted. Flash coming through, but Beastie able to deliver with a headshot. And now 3 versus 5 as Sinners haven't dropped a single player. Looking to push on through, but they don't throw any smokes towards the CT side, and that could be their downfall, because there is one player hiding out, and that is Hard. Finds 1 kill. As I speak of the devil, he manages to deliver. Neofrag, though, won't keep that being the case anymore. So many players from the Sinners side are fairly low, but they don't want to fall anytime soon. It's all up to the Bulgarian Han to finish things up, but he won't be able to do so as the flash will be thrown into his eyes. The elbow needs to be where, I guess, he finds his refuge. But apart from that, I'm seeing Sinners now going for a backstab as well. They want to make sure nothing is saved from the Fiend side. I think that will be the case. He goes for a peek, expects the rotation will come underway. Reloads. Being challenged from all different corners here. There is nothing Han could do. He eventually will have to fall. Gets 1 kill in the process, looking to make things more damaging to the Sinners side.
They're all 1 shot away.
They pretty much are, but he won't be winning the round, but he can for sure do some extra damage, which is why Sinners are very scared of approaching Han.
Yeah, well, those shenanigans have been put to rest. Now Sinners. Okay, so for Fiend to actually even be in this position at all, where Mirage is such a tough affair from them, we are strangers to this world. This is not a dimension that we've grown accustomed to at all. For Sinners to have more than double the amount of rounds, already have won map number 1. I think it was actually Fiend that desperately needed Inferno, not the other way around. This is looking like too close of an affair. Harn, he's made it a bit expensive for Oscar as he's taken him out of commission, but it should still be a throwaway round. Not really much in the back pockets of Fiend. Their holsters are looking very empty. We all know how that song goes, but Bubble is the only one with a big iron in his hip.
Fiend, they're in big trouble. I mean, okay, we knew that this would be a pistol round for them. We knew that Sinners had potential to bring things to a 14th, but that's a long road to cross.
Yeah, a road
in this
with hacks
situation,
and thorns and...
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, you know the song "Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Ain't No River Long enough,
yeah.
or something wide enough." You know, in this situation, there might just be
might
one.
Just be.
It might just be a mountain high enough, and a 40-6 scoreline is something that Fiend don't want to be facing right now.
Yeah, they don't have the climbing gear for the mountain. They don't have the boat for the river. It's looking very bleak at the moment, but let's see if they can pull something out with this weaponry. Couple AUGs, Sinners want to close it right out, moving right in, doing things with elbow grease and hard work. That's the name of the game, but Bubble has a response as well. AUG picks up the first frag. They've got a bit of a crossfire setup going on, and he wants to catch players on the cross. Molotov wants to keep him at bay. He's found himself a nice angle, and he's got the collateral. Bubble, he might have just granted his team another opportunity in this game, but Oscar's still alive and kicking. As I say that, he's been taken out of the server, and it's just Shock left. One tap to start things off. Can he get the clutch?
Ooh, not quite. Han is there. AWP at hand. Sinners, they got stopped in their tracks. Not ready to close things out. Yeah, and the Pinnacle odds still heavily favoring Sinners to close things out. But I believe Fiend have got some breathing space here, because getting another win will completely dismantle their opponents' economy, which will give them some extra space to at least get themselves to double digits, and maybe then there will be a resurgence in confidence.
This is a double-edged sword, though, Pavlos, because it's the same case for Fiend. If they end up losing this round, they don't actually have the economy to fairly contest that last round, so they want to stop this at 14, because 15, it's looking very bleak. Dreamer, he's going to make good use of that flashbang, but it's still a 2-for-2 trade. Bubble and Dreamer with a kill apiece. Every single kill in this game matters now, because Sinners, they're on the verge of getting that 2-0, and Fiend want to desperately stop it. The bomb making its way to the B's side, but the rotation has been called in. It's been cheated. There's only one member remaining to defend.
And it's Red Star. If you want to deliver, this is the time, but no, Shock just puts bullets straight through his body. And now, the B side's taken over by the Czech side. Sinners, with double the amount of rounds that Fiend have accumulated so far, they'll be looking to put themselves on map and series point. B-Stick holding things through from the smoke as they do try to ease their way into from market. Both from very similar positions. One from the window, one from the main doorway. They will be challenging B-Stick simultaneously, but they might be even lining up for Invicta with the first headshot. That actually could keep them in the game. Time is ticking, though, and time is of essence. Oscar there with the AWP. Shuts one down. It's all down to Dreamer. He's the man you want to have in a clutch-worthy situation, but I'm afraid it's too far out of reach. Sinners know they don't have to challenge at all. The bomb hasn't been touched. Shock jumps up from above, connects with a head, and there you go. Sinners, map and series points. One round requires to close things out.
Strangely enough, if Dreamer was able to isolate the duel on Van, he would have gotten the defuse without even having to challenge the Opera at all, because the bomb was not planted for him. There was no reason to really contest short, instead just rush onto Van and make it a little bit easier of an affair for him. Still, commendable from Sinners that they were able to make sure that the duel was always set up in a bit of a crossfire angle where the player from short would be able to help if Dreamer tried to push in. Last chance remaining, not much weaponry. They're being clotheslined by Sinners at the moment. Just an MP9 and an M4 as far as the big boy guns are concerned, and I think the MP9 hasn't really gotten much of a chance to grow. Not too much of a big boy.
Your frag. Ooh. Han might be bumping heads with him, but instead they're just going to walk on top of each other. Spraying down through the smoke, but I think Han gets the better end of that stick. Does connect most of the shots, but Zetko makes his presence known towards mid. Han, oh, just in time, runs right after him and gets the finishing blow onto him as well. So Sinners, in numbers, they're not doing too grand, and I think the force buy from Fiend has already worked wonders. Still lacking when it comes to weaponry across the board, but Han getting that M4 was the exact weapon they want to have in this situation. Headshot connected from Shock as they do push through. B-Stick makes his presence known from above. Bubble chimes in with the MP9 now, also showing his card. Looks to reposition, but B-Stick is there to deliver. Down to 1v2, but it's B-Stick with a clean headshot to close things out. 16-7. A decisive victory for Sinners this series. Gives themselves that 2-0 lead here in the Swiss stage of the Pinnacle Cup.
What a way to... they have completely dismantled Fiend on their own map pick. We could have seen it go to a 2-0 either way, but honestly, because I said that if it was going to be a 2-0 and it would have been for Fiend, of course they have to come up with the exact opposite result, because they can never really give me the satisfaction of having one correct prediction. So you know what? I'm just going to quickly put one more to the tally. Yes, that is another incorrect prediction. If I was betting, I would have to... well, I'd be out of commission for a very long time.
Oh, yes, you would. But you know what? The thing is that I sort of had the same prediction as you. So sometimes I kind of take a different approach to your predictions, which is when I ease up ahead and sort of have that advantage when it comes to the predictions, because you're always wrong, let's face it. But this time I shared your own testament and didn't quite work out in our favor. Any final words before we close things out to a break and head to the next series?
Yeah, honestly, we were very excited for this match. It did turn into a very close affair on Inferno, so I was very happy to see that kind of action. A little disappointed that we didn't see all those signs of life come out from Fiend on Mirage that we've normally grown accustomed to, but at the same time, that was an incredibly dominant affair from Sinners, so that's something to watch out for in the future. But for now, that should be it. We'll be back with the next game, so stay tuned right after the break.